the human beings. Jeez. Yeah, same here. Sure. So I guess everyone just like introduce their names and like anything else they want to say. My name is Bobby Ridge. I'm a life extensionist, immortalist, I guess. I'm trying to defeat death, and I want to live for thousands and millions of years old. And I think we all have a really good chance. Anyone like above like anywhere like around like 7 years old, I think it'll be a lot more difficult. But um, there's a lot of like promising treatments out there that you can take that we'll discuss, and that won't necessarily help you live to thousands of years, but could get you to the longevity escape velocity. And I have a YouTube channel called Life Extension Research, and yeah.
Yeah, I clicked on your channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Cool.
I think maybe Scott should go next since his video is not on, so that the audience knows there's one more here.
Cool.
Okay, I'm Scott Fricks. I've been interested in this movement for years. Uh, I read Professor Sinclair's book recently, and beginning to really believe that it's going to be possible in my lifetime to become rejuvenated, to halt the aging process, to slow it down. Well, if it can't be halted, slow it down, halt it, reverse it. I think it's going to be possible. I think uh, Dr. Sinclair, Professor Sinclair has made some really amazing advances in the optic nerves of mice, and that can be translated to any other tissue um, in mice. And I think it's human testing starts next year. If he can repair the optic nerve of a human, he can repair the spinal cord of a human. And if he can repair the optic nerve, he can repair any tissue in the human body. And I keep asking him if he's uh, rejuvenated an entire mouse yet, and he won't answer. So we'll see. I think that an answer to that question is coming soon. And I think once it's done in mice, 10 years after that, we'll be able to make humans younger.
On your live. Yeah. For sure. If we have too many complications, we could just.
What channel are you on YouTube?
Dang, dude. That.
Okay.
Oh, I think now they can hear me. I had my microphone muted in my programming. All right, you guys. Hopefully now you can hear me. Tell me in the stream if you can hear me now. So it should be good. So anyways, let me give my intro again because no one could hear it. I'm Rowan Horn. I'm the founder of the Eternal Life Fan Club. I'm obsessed with living forever. I'm super into health, and hopefully today we're going to learn something, a thing or two. Thank you, Bobby, for setting this up. He coordinated this whole thing. And, yes, so tell me in the live stream if you can hear me now. Somebody. I think you can. We're good. So, yes, I was talking about my hot chocolate. I have trehalose in this. That's one of my top anti-aging therapies. And, yeah, we'll talk about it. That's it.
Sweet. Then Brent, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Brent Nally, and I've been really interested in life extension technologies and research for about 15 years. However, from the earliest age I can really remember, aging was never really explained to me. It was just, I was young, my parents were older, and my grandparents were a lot older. And I understood that my grandparents birthed my parents. That stuff was pretty obvious and apparent, and you learn those things when you're young. But nobody ever really explained to me that aging was bad. I just kind of always knew it intuitively. And I guess it was around the age of 19 or so when I had a little bit of a health scare, when I started to look into health a little bit more. And then I just always liked to learn the root cause of a problem and then go from there rather than, chipping away at the trunk or branches or something like that. And it's clear to me that aging is the number one problem on the planet if you define a problem as things that are killing humans. So this is something that I try to always bring up in my communication, and I think it would be a productive use of most of our time to explain this to non-life extensionists first, to understand that it's about 110,000 people every day that are dying from aging or aging-related diseases, from the best estimates that all the biggest institutions on the planet can find. So about 150,000 people die every day. About 110,000 of those are from aging or age-related diseases. Yet you don't hear about this in the mainstream media. You hear about climate change. You hear about cancer. You hear about Alzheimer's. You hear about a lot of bad stuff. And I don't want to really go down the rabbit hole with that stuff because they're all bad. But if we cure cancer, we're only going to add maybe 3 years to human life expectancy on average. So we need to really cure aging. And for people who think that aging is not a disease, all I'll say to them is, well, when aging is cured, you will want that cure. And you will think it's a disease then when you have it and nobody else has it. So I just want people to think about those things. And the final thing that I'll say is, I'm trying to do this stuff full time now at this point. Life extension research, and then interviewing life extension experts, scientists on my YouTube channel and other social media outlets. But I'll say that when I was first getting into this, I was reading Ray Kurzweil's books, which I got back there, Singularity is Near and stuff like that in 2005. And I just kind of thought these things were going to happen. And I'm not as convinced now. So that's why I'm working my ass off every day to make this reality, because I'm not convinced that this is going to happen. I'm not as optimistic as most people seem to be in the community. I think this is a really difficult problem to solve. And the more I learn about it, the more difficult I think it is. But I am an optimist, and I believe that we can change the future. So it's in our hands, and that's why I'm glad to be here chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just when they discuss aging, they forget that. There's a lot of people who get chronic diseases when they're older, but really anyone can die at any age, and so it's important to be as proactive as possible at any point in your life. And don't feel confident that your youth is going to get you, 20 or 40 more years. And I think that's a much more healthier way of looking at it. Like, don't get like a bunch of anxiety thinking of it like that, but work forward towards extending your lifespan. Sign up to chronics and get the various methods of testing your biological health. Like for example, Brent, he's gotten his microbiome sequenced, right, at Viome. And so there's a bunch of things you can do like that, and then there's a bunch of experimental life extension treatments that you can take that all of us have done, some of them at least, not all of them. I thought it'd be a great idea for everyone to discuss life extension treatments, or the promising life extension treatments that they're taking.
Like NAD therapy. Has anyone done that? Like actually
Yes.
Intravenous like NAD therapy?
No.
No? Me neither.
No,
I want
what
to.
I understand, the molecule is entirely too large to fit through the cell membranes. So if you're just taking IV NAD, I don't know what good it's doing. Granted, I'm not a cell biologist, but from what I understand, it's the precursors have a serious effect. NMN or NR are more likely to have a serious effect than the intravenous NAD.
Yeah, I think I read that they're supposed to be able to, NR and NMN are supposed to be able to get through the membrane of cells, and that's what they think. But I mean, like, there's a lot of great case studies of people IVing NAD plus. Technically, we don't know if there's placebos, but I'm sure there's something going on there.
It's got to be doing something, because when you go on YouTube and look at the testimonials of people who have gotten intravenous NAD, it's like it's fixing their addiction problems. It's making their cognition better. It's just like, it's like healing their brain in many ways, especially from addiction. So it's doing something profound.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something we don't know about it.
I really like what Brent said about not being overconfident. I also feel there's a big overconfidence in the life extension movement, and we need to defeat that overconfidence, because they say overconfidence killed the cat. We can't get cocky. And remember the tortoise and the hare. The hare was a bit overconfident that he was going to win the race, and then he lost the race. So we can't be like that hare. We have to be very humble about how hard this could be to make it happen. We have to make it happen. I like what you said there, Brent.
And then I've seen studies in which scientists have IV'd NAD plus into mice, and it's had health benefits. But I also read that contradicting research that Scott brought up. And did David ever talk about that, Scott, when you talked to him?
David Sinclair?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's mentioned it, but he also has mentioned that he does the IV NAD treatments.
Awesome.
So,
well, I think he only said, David Sinclair said he tried it, because I was listening to his talk with Joe Rogan. I don't think he does it regularly. He just did it to try it like once or something. That's not part of his protocol, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
It's a little expensive.
I've talked to him like a few times, and I mean, it's not like we're close friends or anything, but
I've watched both of David Sinclair's Joe Rogan podcasts, and I think I recall what Rowan stated as well. It's not like a protocol that he does regularly. However, when I was at RadFest a couple months ago, I guess 3 months ago now, in October 2019, there was a panel discussion, and I believe that it was Aubrey de Grey, Liz Parrish, Natasha Vita-Moore, Dr. Bill Andrews, and maybe a couple others. And they all were in accordance that you shouldn't do NAD plus infusions if you're under the age of 40 and probably even 50, because your NAD levels are probably most likely just fine. So I want to make sure people understand that, because it looks like just within this call we have 3 people who fit that category. And So I want to make that clear. And then I also spoke with a few people, I think it was 3 or maybe 4 people, who told me anecdotally at RadFest they have had NAD plus infusions, and they did feel that it was very, very helpful for their health. I'll leave it at that in the interest of time.
Did they say there was a specific downside to doing it if you're under the age of 40, like to doing the NAD treatments? Is there a negative effect from that?
Wasting tons of money on something that's not necessary, and there could be negative effects because your NAD levels are supposed to be just fine until you're about age 40. This is, of course, a blanket statement. I mean, I'm no expert in this. I'm just kind of the messenger of experts who are on the panel stating this. And also, just think about it. If your levels are just fine and you add in more, it could really mess up your body, just the same as anything else, like, taking steroids and things like that. It can be great for short term potentially, but it could really mess you up long term because that's how the body works. You tell the body that you're getting more testosterone, so the body says, oh, we need to shut down testosterone. We have way too much, and then you screw the body up. So for me personally, like NAD plus is not part of my program for myself and my own health right now at this time.
Right.
Nice.
Michaela Peterson, who did the lion diet. You guys heard of her? Who's eating an all meat carnivore diet. Yeah, and we could talk about that. I'm sure that's not great for longevity. I think all of us would agree on that. But she
I don't know.
She also does the NAD therapy.
Cool.
She does it. She swears by it. She's like, she always posts on her Instagram. She's doing another NAD intravenous therapy, and she's super young. So
yeah,
we'll see how that works out for her.
There's a bunch of human I haven't studied NMN and NAD plus too thoroughly. I looked into it a little bit because I want to make a video about it since it's like so popular. Which I'm not sure why it's so popular. Probably because David has been like going around just like talking about it everywhere. But the life extension results inside mice and other model organisms aren't that impressive. You think they'd be like really impressive, but they really aren't. But maybe it's just not the correct dosages. There's not too many studies. And then in humans, I've heard Sinclair and others say that it decreases exponentially. But I've only found 2 tissues that they've tested it in, or two cells, I guess. The skin cells. Not sure which layer. I didn't read the study, but it's skin cells and some sort of brain cells is the only ones I found, and they found that the NAD plus levels decrease exponentially as we age, and so it's difficult to know how important it is. You think it's super important, right? Because NAD plus is like so important for making energy, and like it's something you like freaking learn it in like Bio 101. But yeah, I probably won't end up IVing it because it's a little too expensive. I think it's like $10,000 or $20,000 for an IV. But I know a lot of people do it. I guess a lot of people do it to get off drugs, like alcoholism. That's like a really popular thing to do. But
not having cash will probably get you off of drugs. I don't know. Not an expert. But
yeah. There's actually quite a few different vitamins I've discovered that has had life extension results in mice, like vitamin C, vitamin B5, vitamin E, and then vitamin D's extended C. elegans lifespan, which like everyone was deficient in vitamin D, so that can't be good.
Since you're so into looking at the studies and stuff, have you looked into the studies on activated charcoal? And I think we might have talked about that briefly in our talk, Bobby. But did you look into that yet?
Yeah, I meant to look into it more, but I didn't have time.
Because that's another thing I'm doing, activated charcoal, like on the daily. That's pretty. I think that's gonna extend life.
Yeah, it's had some impressive results in mice.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it logically too, it makes sense because it's just sucking out toxins out of your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And like, toxins is bad.
Yeah.
Toxins is bad.
I think extended their lifespan by like 24%. their like average lifespan, which is like really impressive. But yeah, I don't
And the
know too
good
much
thing
about
about
activated
activated charcoal, it's so cheap. It's so cheap. You can buy
Yeah,
activated charcoal powder in bulk. It's cheap. And especially if you're doing intermittent fasting, because you just drink it first thing in the morning, and you don't eat 4 or 5 hours, and then you eat your first meal after that, and then that way it wouldn't interfere with the food. You're not supposed to eat it with food because it can block the absorption of nutrients in your food. But if you have a long time span of not eating, you have a big window to eat some activated charcoal. It wouldn't be a problem. It's just gonna detox you.
okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't you all said that you were fasting? Um, you know, calorie restricting has been known to extend mice lifespan for a long time, and it's been it's in the literature. Scientists always bring it up, and how it's just something that's fundamental to life extension. When I don't think it is really at all. You'll hear well, I don't think it's like fundamental. I think it's something that like we don't really need. There's so many different molecules and gene therapies and stem cell therapies and
that mimic caloric restriction mimetics, right?
well, they have life extension results, but we don't necessarily know if they mimic caloric restriction, because a lot of times what scientists will do is they'll combine caloric restriction with whatever life extension treatment there is, and there won't be any synergisticity, which means that, or there will be sometimes, which means that either there's similarities or there's differences occurring in the body. But you guys all said you're intermittent fasting. Could you discuss that a little bit more?
Well, when you work, it makes it really easy because you can't eat it while you're working. So you just don't eat your first meal, and then you eat after you get home from work. So it like makes it extra easy, I think, for people that I think that like that's when I really started it big, is like, because it's like just skip your first meal and then just eat when you get home from work.
Okay.
I'm doing the 18-6 IF plan. I like it. I mean, I eat 2 meals a day, full satisfying meals, no snacks, and I feel better. My blood pressure was a little high, and now I'm coming off blood pressure medicines.
Sweet.
Yeah. I'm just generally healthier since I started the intermittent fasting. I've lost a lot of weight. And
when did you start that?
July the 8th of 2019.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Relatively recent.
Yeah. The results have been remarkable.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys exactly do? So you just skip. Rowan said he skips breakfast.
Yeah, and on those days I generally eat one meal, but then on the weekends when I'm not working, I just eat like normal. So I'll maybe even eat 2 or 3 meals on the weekends when I'm not working.
2 meals a day for me. Finish the first one 6 hours after I start finish the second one 6 hours after I start the first one, and no snacks.
So I'm on a similar protocol to Scott. I try to go about 18, 20 hours daily, but I am not a robot about this. So some days it's like 14 hours, some days it's 24. And it really has to do with my schedule and what's going on. But for people who might be interested in this, first I'll state that it has also dramatically improved my life in ways that I wasn't necessarily anticipating, just from a health standpoint. And I also want to talk about sleep at some point during this call, because I think sleep is by far the number one most important thing for your health that you can be doing right now. We're not going to sleep our way to living thousands of years. I don't want people to think that. We need longevity therapies to
Are
do
you
that.
sure? What if we hack into the whole Odin sleep thing? Have you seen him?
Yeah.
The Odin sleep.
But sleep is super important, and I have a sleep scientist scheduled on my YouTube channel to interview him in mid-January.
Awesome.
Dr. Michael Bruce. He's called the Sleep Doctor, and I've studied sleep quite a bit over the last few years. Dr. Matthew Walker's work is also fantastic. He's the sleep scientists at Google and also at UC Berkeley. And what sleep scientists will tell you is that you don't want to eat a few hours before you go to bed. I'd say at least 4 hours. And I've even taken that to the next level. I try not to drink anything. So I don't just mean alcohol, I mean water or anything.
Jeez.
So yeah, what that does is it allows you to sleep well. You know, if you're too much intermittent fasting, too many hours, like maybe into 6, 7, 8 hours before you go to sleep, your brain's going to be dumping out most likely a lot more HGH, dopamine, like hormones that get you going and makes it hard to go to sleep. So find the sweet spot that's right for you if you want to try this. So then if you think about it, if you're not eating or drinking 4 hours before you go to sleep, and that also helps you stay asleep. Scott, you mentioned that, you know, the older you get with men, the harder it is to get a full night's sleep without waking up to pee, just because of aging sucks and the prostate. So by not drinking a few hours before you go to sleep, I found that's really helped me as well too, because I'm 34 and, you know, before I did this, I was getting up one time a night to pee normally, which wasn't like that when I was younger. I abused alcohol and certain things when I was younger in a fraternity and drinking in my 20s. So I'm rambling a little bit here, so let me try and piece this together real quick. So basically, if you want to try this, I think the best way to do it is don't eat or drink anything about 4 hours before you go to sleep. Then you should be sleeping about 8 hours a night. Boom, you wake up, you're at 12 hours. Then all of a sudden getting to 16 hours does not seem that difficult. It's just going 4 hours or so from when you've woken up. And then you want to eat about 2 meals, as Scott has stated, you know, during the day, maybe around, depending on what time you're waking up, we'll call it around 10 or 11 in the morning. Have your second meal about 2 or 3 or 4. Be done with it, and then, you know, maybe you're going to sleep at like 8, 9 o'clock, depending on your schedule, maybe 10 p.m. at night, who knows. But that's basically the model. It's worked really well for me and other people. And then as far as longevity goes, I've been very interested in studying centenarians and super centenarians. You know, mice are great, worms are great, animal models are great. I want to know what makes humans live the longest, and I want to know what's actually been studied and proven to work. So that's what I've been actually researching. It seems like more than most people in this community. The blue zones are great. I got one of the books back there. And these people do not overeat. You know, the people who live the longest, they haven't necessarily been doing intermittent fasting, as we call it, but they definitely do calorie restriction. So I've been talking a lot. I want other people to say some stuff. So it's just some things to think about.
Here, one centenarian I was learning about had a very strange sleeping cycle. She would stay awake double the normal amount of time, but also sleep double the normal amount of time at once. It was pretty crazy. That was interesting.
She would sleep like 16 hours straight.
Yeah, and then she'd be like awake like 2 days and like sleep a day. It was a crazy, weird stuff. So
astronauts used to sleep 4 hours, and then they worked 8 hours, and they did like half the sleep, and it worked. They could function. But I totally agree on the sleep. Sleep is as important, at least as important as diet and exercise.
Do you guys think there's a best last meal of the day to enhance your sleep? Because I heard if you eat a lot of actually carbs are important for getting a good night's sleep, because if you eat carbs with something high in tryptophan, it'll enhance the absorption of tryptophan into the brain. Tryptophan is an important amino acid for sleep. You guys heard that? And I've also heard glycine, the amino acid glycine. Some people supplement with like 3 to 5 grams of glycine, and that puts them in a deep state of sleep. And that's something I've been trying.
Yeah, I think glycine is extended mice lifespan and other model organisms. I think a recent study has came out.
That makes sense. That would make sense too, because glycine is a methyl donor, so it helps with methylation, which we know is important for longevity.
Okay. Yeah, there's a village in China that have a bunch of centenarians. It's called like Bama or something, and they discovered that they eat a lot of hemp seeds and something called bitter vegetable. It's like Sonchus oleracus or something. I don't know. And so they tested in mice, I think in 2017 maybe, or 2018. And I'll put the study on the screen. And they it extended their lifespan. So yeah, I don't know.
I wonder what do you think that's from as far as the hemp seeds? Do you think maybe it could be they're getting small amounts of cannabinoids? Because some
Yeah, maybe, man.
CBD is in hemp seeds, a small amount.
Yeah, those need to be tested more for life extension results, CBD and THC. But yeah, man, hemp seems to sort of do everything. Like, I don't know, it's really weird.
Yeah, hemp's incredible. Rowan, to kind of answer what you were talking about earlier, the sleep scientists that I've researched, like a couple that I mentioned there and a few others, they've never said anything that I can recall about specifically what to eat before you go to bed. I think the key is to just make sure that you're getting full, but not too full. So you don't want to overeat. I used to overeat a lot when I was younger. So there's two hunger hormones that are known. One's called ghrelin and one's called leptin. So they work opposite. So ghrelin tells you that you're hungry. It kind of sounds like a gremlin from like Hansel and Gretel. So that's why you can kind of remember it. Like when you're hungry, it's like, it's ghrelin. And then the leptin's the other one. So it's when you're full. But it takes a while for that signal, to go to your brain to tell you that you're full. So that's why, you don't want to overeat. If you're feeling like maybe you've eaten too much, that's the time where you stop, give it 5-10 minutes and see if that chemical, kicks in. So that's what I do. It's definitely helped, regarding that. And I sleep great now. And I have other content on sleep that's really, really important. But I really do think it's the number one thing that people can actually do right now. It costs you basically nothing. And it's way, way, way more complex than most people understand to get a good night's sleep, especially in our modern day with lights and blue lights and all sorts of alarm clocks.
Do you put a blue light filter on your computer devices and your phone, like a flux filter?
Yeah, so I'm on my MacBook right now. I have Flux on there. I got my iPhone here. I got the chats. See the chats here too, and I have the night filter on my iPhone as well too. It's available for all Apple devices now, and you can get f.lux, for any device. So I highly recommend that for people. It's game changing. And then I turn my iPhone off at night. I never set an alarm. I just got to bed earlier last night to make sure I'd be awake for this. I won't say never. If I have a plane flight or something, maybe 5 or 10 days a year, I actually set an alarm on my phone these days. So I'd highly recommend, if there's anything you want to do to improve your health, sleep is number one, and never set an alarm clock. Just, you need that sleep for so many reasons.
Hey, if I could, I'd like to recommend this silk sleeping mask that I wear every night, because it's just impossible to get the room dark enough. But I put the mask on and it is dark enough, and it really helps with my sleep. I sleep deeper and longer. So
nice. Yeah, I read a study where people who live near like noisy areas have a decreased life expectancy. Like people who live next to airports or like trains, because it's probably like disrupting their their sleep cycle.
Yeah.
And so there's I don't know if you guys have heard of Delta sleep induced peptide, but it's extended my lifespan, max lifespan by 17%. So I don't know. I don't really know too much about it.
One thing I've found really helps me sleep and puts me in a deep sleep is high amounts of CBD oil. And I've seen around on the internet, a lot of people are saying the same thing. If you take a high dose CBD oil, in some cases maybe it wouldn't take super high dose, but for me it takes quite a high dose, and it really knocks me out pretty well. So that might be partly why, if CBD would enhance people's longevity, maybe it's just making them sleep better.
Yeah.
I would be CBD obviously is different from marijuana. I would be careful with cannabis, marijuana, weed, whatever you want to call it. I try to call it cannabis these days because marijuana seems to be more of a derogatory term, I guess, to some folks at this point. But so I just wanted people to know that alcohol is a sedative. So when you're drinking alcohol before you go to sleep, you're not getting normal sleep. You're getting fragmented sleep, and you're in a state of sedation, which is not sleep. So you're not going through the proper sleep cycles, which is non-REM, stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then REM. And the other thing that I'll say is regarding, looking at people's REM sleep who went to bed, high on cannabis, they're really lacking in their REM sleep, which is really important for prefrontal cortex, all your memory, your identity, basically who you say you are, your conscious brain, and the memories that you've had. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay.
That's a good point. I think there was a sleep expert. His name has Walker in it, I think. Was it Dr.
Matthew Walker?
Matthew Walker.
Matthew Walker, and he was confirming what you just said. Yeah, he was saying if you use like alcohol to try to sleep, that's bad. And then he was even talking about CBD. Somebody asked him like if CBD does the same thing, and he didn't even know. He's like, we don't know. There's not enough studies to say like, does CBD interfere with the REM sleep or not? We don't know.
Right, that's what Matthew Walker has said. However, and I've probably heard those same interviews. I think I've watched like almost every single interview of him on YouTube I can find, and I've read his book, and I did a book review of his book Why We Sleep, which is phenomenal. But I did a book review on my YouTube channel of that. But regarding just cannabis, I have heard other sleep doctors state that it has affected REM sleep that they can see.
Oh no, he did say. I think he did. He said THC would affect the REM sleep, but he didn't know like a CBD, just a CBD isolate.
I would really like to know that, and my guess would be probably take it in small doses and be careful like anything else. I wouldn't recommend probably a super high dose of it because, you want to be in Matthew Walker, just so since we're on it right now, he also does not recommend any type of pills. Definitely don't ever take Ambien. That stuff is terrible. And even like melatonin. I was taking melatonin sometimes a couple years ago when I was traveling quite a bit. He doesn't even recommend that. The only time that
he says it's a placebo.
Really?
Yeah, he says it's placebo. There's no evidence that it works, and he may be right. It works for me. Whether it's a placebo or not, I couldn't tell you. But he's also said that if it works for you, continue taking it because the placebo effect is very powerful. So
Scott's correct. That's basically what I've heard Matthew Walker say as well too. But there are really great ways to get your brain to produce melatonin, which I think we'd all agree would be much better than
lighting that sleep mask that I told you about.
Yep.
Dim your lights, have blackout curtains, have a regular time when you want the lights dim, turn off the TV. These blue light filters can only do so much. Right. Just turn off the electronics after like 7 p.m. or whatever time works for you.
A few hours before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Whatever time you go to bed.
Couple hours.
I've also heard, in addition to blocking out the blue light, is actually getting red light therapy can enhance sleep quality. You guys heard that?
Yeah. What's his name? The bulletproof guy, Jay Asprey. I think it's. Yeah. He said something about that in his book. I don't know that it's so much red light therapy helps as it's just you can actually see. And it's not so harmful for you. And I don't think anyone knows. But
just getting out in sunlight every day, getting sunlight, preferably in the morning, exercising a little bit in the morning after you wake up, all those things will help your body get into a regular schedule to produce the proper hormones and sleep hormones like melatonin at the proper times. So
circadian rhythms are absolutely essential. And like you're saying, regular daylight exposure, regular exercise, regular meal times. These regulate your hormones, and your hormones regulate your circadian rhythm. And melatonin is one of these hormones, and it's one of the very important ones. Insulin is another one. And leptin and cortisol can be very bad. And yeah.
Nuratu in the comments says, blue light is poison. Now, do you guys think, have you guys heard that blue light has some positive qualities, that you wouldn't want to completely remove all blue light from your life, like if you could? Let's say you could like get a surgery and like put a film on your eye that just blocks out all the blue light. Like, would you want to do that? Or is there some benefits to having some blue light?
Blue lights in the morning, I think, probably make you, I've seen studies that blue lights in the day make you more alert and more awake.
I strongly agree with Scott. Yeah, it's not that blue light's poison. It's that what time are you getting it? The problem is that so many of us longevity enthusiasts, we want to keep learning. There's so much information out there. Like I've spent times, I'm up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning just researching. But for me, like personally, those days are over because I care about my personal health. So now I'm much more into getting into a routine, following that routine, really valuing my own personal health so that I'm here for these longevity therapeutics when they come about, whenever they do, rather than being a crazy person staying up all hours of the night, because you're not helping yourself if you make that a habit and that becomes a lifestyle. So you do it once or twice here and there for finishing a big project or something, that's fine. But I think the theme here that I'm hearing and that I want to preach, and something that Scott's been saying a lot, is like get into a routine, get into the healthiest lifestyle routine as possible. Care about yourself, care about the community, the life extension community, and let's get other people to live healthier lives as well too. You know, people are so excited about these longevity therapies. I am too, but there's so much we could be doing right now, and most of it doesn't even cost that much money or is free.
Yeah, making sure that you do basic exercise and eat healthy. It's really important to do, because that can really weigh you down if you don't focus on that. What were you saying, Scott?
One thing for sleep, I remember Matthew Walker was really into is like first thing in the morning to get the normal natural lighting in the day, the sunlight, because that will set your circadian rhythm, you know, so that you'll get the melatonin kicking in at the right time at the nighttime when you need it.
Yeah. And when the sun goes down, you want to dim the artificial lights in your house.
Yeah.
And it just stands to reason. And you know, the sun rises and sets at inconvenient times throughout the year, but we can set our lights. You know, we got smart lights. It's 2020. We've all got smart lights that have dimmers, and I have my lights dim at like 7 p.m. and I haven't gone to red lights or anything yet, but I do have overhead lights that are any color, and I've experimented with red light and yellow light, and but I think the circadian rhythm is very important. I think, you know, with this life extension thing, it's going to happen, but when it's going to happen, when the technology is going to come around to make us actually younger, is anybody's guess. And if you're old like me, I got 20 years on any of you. If you're old like me, you want to keep in shape, so you're more likely to live to see the technology improve.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a matter of just reaching into the future as far as possible at this point.
I have no interest in being a 98-year-old man unless some kind of technology makes that a much more attractive option than it is today.
But if you were a 90-year-old man and decrepit and like in a wheelchair and everything, you'd want to stay around just in case tomorrow they come out with the treatment and the cure, right?
Sure. You wouldn't commit suicide.
You'd push through it, right? You'd push through the pain, I hope.
Yeah.
Achieve eternal life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Brent, I wanted to bring up your stem cell therapy. That's like really exciting. I think you're the only one out of all of us who've had stem cell therapy. Could you discuss that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So I've been interested in stem cells, over a decade, and I've interviewed a few stem cell experts on my YouTube channel. I'll use that word experts loosely. It's debatable, but PhDs and stuff, and people who actually do the injections or run the companies are what I'll define as experts in this context.
Yeah, you have a lot of great videos of you like updating yourself and talking with these people in interviews.
Thank you. Yeah, I did my 1-year update for my stem cell therapy on my YouTube channel yesterday, and that will be my last one. So as far as, the therapy that I had it done December 20th, 2018. Easy to remember because it's my sister's birthday. And basically, I played sports a lot growing up. I played a lot of basketball, had a lot of ankle sprains, first degree, second degree. For those who don't know much about ankle sprains, first degree and second degree aren't that bad. They hurt, but you get over them and they heal rather quickly, especially when you're young. But I got a third degree ankle sprain when I was 20 in college, and third degree is really bad. Black and blue all the way up to my shin, all the way down to my toes, on crutches for a month. And I was a stupid 20-year-old. I just thought that I would heal like I did from the other ones, so I didn't have physical therapy. Well, as the years ticked on, I never properly healed, and I never got the physical therapy, which I should have just done, but I didn't. So scar tissue built up, all sorts of things. And then over, approximately 14 years or so, it just had effects on the rest of my body. My right knee, this was my right ankle. So my right knee started having problems in my lower back. And then I played baseball growing up, and I also play a lot of dodgeball now, adult dodgeball. I've been playing for over a decade. So my right shoulder, my throwing shoulder, had some pain too. So I won't go into a bunch of details. You can find it on my YouTube channel. There's a whole playlist that I've done that explains this in detail. But basically, I had stem cell injections in Mexico in my right ankle, knee, and shoulder. Also 200 million of the stem cells IV'd into my arm, which go directly to my lungs and then to my heart. And most of them are gone after that, found from following them. But they're supposed to have your body be as healthy as possible. The stem cells work. These are called mesenchymal or mesenchymal stem cells. I also have my own PRP injected locally, not IV'd. You don't inject PRP IV.
Now, what does PRP stand for?
It's platelet-rich plasma. It's been around for over a decade, pretty well known in the regenerative medicines area. Not necessarily for life extension. So if you're a life extensionist and you haven't heard of PRP, no big deal. This is for people who have chronic musculoskeletal conditions. You would know about PRP if you went to a doctor. They've been injecting PRP for over a decade in clinics, regenerative medicine clinics in the U.S. and first world. So they basically just took my blood out that morning. They spin it up in a centrifuge and then inject it back in. They separate the platelet-rich plasma and put that right back in me. So you see all that in the channel. So just to fast forward on this and kind of bring home the point, I strongly believe that it worked, but I also documented all the other healthy things that I was doing. Plus, I'm a big believer in placebo. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza, who wrote a book called You Are the Placebo. I believe it. We are the placebo. The placebo effect is real. It's been very well documented throughout many, many years, throughout all over the world. It's real. It works. It's basically your brain producing certain chemicals that will help your body heal if you stay positive and optimistic and believe that something's going to work. But to me, that doesn't just explain me getting better, like the placebo effect alone. I mean, I had really chronic problems, and they're now basically. So just to let you know, my right ankle is completely better. It's the same. When I put pressure on it, how I used to for years, that would be super painful. There's no pain. Same amount of pain as my left ankle. My right knee is about 90 to 95% better. My right shoulder, same thing, 90 to 95% better. So,
wow.
and just so people know, the unfortunate situation here is that I had to go to Mexico for a few reasons. The main reason is what I had done, which I believe to be the best at the time, treatment. It's not available in the U.S. These stem cells were derived from the umbilical cord of a healthy birth of a human. Healthy means they check it for viruses. There's no viruses, completely healthy. And it's a birth from about 2 to 4 days earlier, so it wasn't frozen. Because when you freeze the cells, some of the cells die and can be affected in other ways too. So you can get frozen stem cells in the U.S., but it's insanely more expensive, like literally 10 times more expensive for 1/10 the amount. So we're talking like 100 times more expensive. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And so that's why I went to Mexico to do it. And I, of course, did a crazy amount of research before I went down to Mexico and injected this stuff in me. And I'm happy with what I did now, but I've also learned about other clinics in the world, stem cell clinics, that also seem to be getting like really good results. So I'll just end on one thing. This is not just for chronic musculoskeletal conditions. Stem cells are how our bodies heal in general. If you didn't have stem cells, if magically we just removed all the stem cells from your body, you'd be dead in about an hour, you know? So stem cells are what heal our body, and it's actually not really the stem cells. It's actually what the stem cells secrete, like exosomes. So now people are injecting exosomes, which are getting fantastic results. But I'll just end on, it's really exciting. And if you do have chronic conditions like things that are thought to be untreatable, type 2 diabetes, all sorts of things. It's really, really crazy. MS, multiple sclerosis. The list just goes on and on. Autism. I've seen, again, anecdotally, because they're not doing the proper double-blind, placebo-controlled, gold standard of science studies on these things because of the way that money works, because this is a biologic. It's not a drug. It can't be patented, so there's no financial incentive from the pharmaceutical companies. So because of this complex, crazy world that we're in, the best thing is anecdotal, and the anecdotal evidence that I've seen is out of control of people getting better. And this is YouTube. It's not, when I say anecdotal, it's not just like some comment on Facebook of somebody saying, oh yeah, I got better. Like I do really, really, really deep research on this stuff and have been doing it for a number of years. So that was, but that's how I see this stuff.
There's a pretty good amount of human clinical trials using stem cells for all different types of diseases. And like cancers, cardiovascular disease, even autism, like you said, and a bunch of different other ones. I can provide citations on the screen. And
Bobby, is what kind of stem cells are they using? You know, and
I was going to ask you, did they extract the stem cells from your bone marrow?
So I did that separately, and I documented that on my YouTube channel in March. My wife and I did that, and it's kind of funny. This is just a total coincidence. Forever Labs is the company I did it with, and they sent me this little water bottle. Oh, cool. And so yeah, they took out my wife and I our bone marrow. They extracted it. It's all on my channel if you guys want to watch it. It was a little painful for me, even though they put some anesthetic in there beforehand. My wife said she didn't have any pain. So I kind of felt like a wuss. I did mine right after hers. And I'm not too convinced I'm ever going to use that. And I'm not even convinced it was a like really intelligent thing to do. I basically just did it as an insurance policy in case stem cell research does advance and it does show that like we really need our own stem cells. But I think, and I really hope that there's going to be therapies where you won't need your own stem cells, that they'll be able to, you know, use other people's stem cells and also like completely scale them up, you know, to levels where we can use them and costs will come down in the years and decades to come. But in the theme that we've been talking about, I don't know if that shit's going to happen. We need people to get interested in this. We need people to invest in it, and we need scientists to actually do it. And I don't see
why did you IV the stem cells? Like what made you interested in that?
IV?
Yeah.
So it's complex, but I'll just say that first of all, it's shown to have really helpful benefits with the local injections as well, and I really just want to get better. Second of all, the pricing was really good on it compared to the local injection. So for example, I paid $2,000 for 22 million mesenchymal stem cells injected into my ankle, whereas I paid $6,000 for 200 million of them IV'd into me. And then they go to my lungs and my heart. You know, I've been a cannabis smoker for years. I don't think cannabis is too bad on the lungs, certainly not compared to cigarettes, but hey, I wanted my lungs to get healed and better. And then go to your heart as well too. And they actually have been able to tag stem cells in certain clinical trials that they've done in studies. They tag them with, they basically do they edit them so that they are highlighted. And they've got that technology from other, species, who have that biotech, I guess we'll call it. So it's really cool. So they can actually track the stem cells and know where they go. So it's really fascinating science. And they know that basically when you get them IV, they go straight to your lungs, and then about 90%, whatever left over, goes to your heart, and then most of them are done from there. But I think it also depends on how healthy you are. So I figured if I was young and healthy, maybe these mesenchymal stem cells would scatter out. And they're called MSCs, but the gentleman who named them MSCs, his name's Dr. Arnold Kaplan. He named them in the late 80s, and for the last decade, he's been on a crusade to rename them medicinal signaling cells, because what these mesenchymal stem cells do is they send out signals all throughout the body, and they basically, we don't fully understand them, but I think they're insanely intelligent, and they're sending out signals, communicating with your body, figuring out what the greatest need is, where the biggest problem is, and then they'll go there and set up shop. So like, for example, if you get real stem cells like I did, you don't really have hardly any cases, like way less than 1% of negative side effects. And I wouldn't even call those negative. It's short-term things where the body's freaking out with inflammation. But you have many cases where people get no results, and people throw their hands in the air like, why do some people like me get really good results and why do some people get no results? Yeah. I think one easy answer is I'm living a really healthy lifestyle. That's why I've documented that on my YouTube channel. But I think another answer is that, hey, maybe you got these mesenchymal stem cells injected in your knee because you had an ACL tear and you wanted to get that better. But then your knee doesn't get better and you're like, man, I wasted my money. Well, not necessarily. They know these MSCs travel to where the greatest, problem is, as I talked about with the signals. So maybe they've seen that MSCs travel from knees and go and set up shop in your GI tract or something. So maybe you're 40 years old, you had an ACL tear, you went down to Mexico, got stem cells injected in your knee for that ACL, and the stem cells recognize that you have stage 2 prostate cancer. And they're like, that is more important to heal. So they travel up there and heal that. Unbeknownst to you, you never even knew you had stage 2 prostate cancer. You never knew you got better. And you say, oh, didn't work for me. This is a bunch of huckus, Yeah. So it's complex stuff, but that's what's going on in the stem cell world right now.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it's almost like the stem cells themselves might not be fully responsible for the healing. Well, they're signaling the body to heal, but it's like if you don't give your body the materials to heal, maybe it won't. Like maybe if you're not eating a healthy diet, then you could take all the stem cells, but if you're missing certain minerals and certain nutrients for the body to heal, maybe the stem cells wouldn't be as effective as if they're taken by someone who's like eating a super healthy diet. That would make sense.
I'd say all that's definitely true. And just to be clear, there's many different types of stem cells. I've been referring to mesenchymal or mesenchymal or medicinal signaling cells the whole time. And they're actually parasites. So they're not parasite, Parasite. They're pericytes, Pericyte. And they're long like this. They're not a circular cell, like most other stem cells. So they'll like kind of set up on your blood capillaries and arteries and things like that. And they send out certain things like exosomes, and the exosomes are what are actually healing you. So now there's regenerative therapy companies like Chimera Labs. I've interviewed their CEO and founder, Dr. Duncan Ross, that are now creating their own exosomes from a placenta, is where they got the MSCs from originally to then create the exosomes. And now they're just creating those exosomes, in their own bioreactor. And it's the same product every time. So that's really important from a business standpoint, to have a reproducible biological product that's not a drug. And now we're getting into, there's all this is big money and big controversy right now in the US. So they're actually, the FDA is clamping down on Chimera Labs and other exosomes companies trying to call it a drug, which of course it's not. But this is new territory. This is regenerative medicine. And we haven't even gotten into this. So I'll just say it now, like, the FDA, whatever you think about them, like, they're tied into the pharmaceutical company, and the pharmaceutical company is the largest. It is the largest part of the stock market from an economic standpoint by far. So if you think that these pharmaceutical companies that have trillions of dollars in market cap are just going to sit back and let their patents and their business models be crushed, then you're naive. So that's another thing that's going on in this space that's really frustrating, because I hate to be a conspiracy theorist or whatever you want to call it, but this stuff is really happening. And if you understand business, then it's very obvious what's happening.
You are
Do you
completely
have
right.
any concerns about the foreign DNA from the mesenchymal stem cells?
It's a great question, Scott. And so there's something called HLA. And in the stem cells that I receive, they're called day zero is actually the scientific term for them, because literally the baby was just birthed. They come from actually the Wharton's jelly is a specific part of the umbilical cord that the mesenchymal stem cells I received are coming from. And there is no HLA factor in there yet. It's not developed. It's, in those stem cells. So because of that, my body doesn't recognize these cells as a foreign cell. So it takes them in, and, there's a number of reasons why I did this and why I'm not worried about it. Number one, we've had a phenomenon going on for decades now. I have a friend who's just turned 40, and he was born from his actual biological aunt, a surrogate, right? And if you think about what's happening there, he had his mother, who he calls his mother, provide her egg to go into her sister, and then the sperm of his biological dad. So in that sense, we already have these surrogate babies who've been shown to be healthy for decades. We have that evidence right there too. Then you have bone marrow transplants as well too, to kind of show that there's not much to worry. I've seen some crazy things with bone marrow transplants in very rare cases, very rare, but generally it's safe. But without ranting, Scott, to just answer your question succinctly, I've looked into it in depth, and I was not the first guinea pig here. More than 100,000 people have done generally what I've done. I'm not the Liz Parrish. I'm not the patient zero on this. So it's generally shown to be safe, is how I'll answer your question.
Okay.
Have you heard of the connection between silver and regenerating stem cells and stimulating stem cells? Like hospitals used to use silver bandages on like limbs and stuff, because it would actually like stimulate the growth of like fingertips and stuff. If you could cut off like the tip of your finger and like regrow it with silver, because supposedly it's like regenerating the stem cells and stimulating the stem cells to heal. So there could be a potential for like taking silver internally, and that maybe has some effect on your stem cells. I don't know, I'm kind of hypothesizing there, but you can also nebulize silver. You can actually inhale like silver particles. I've done that. I do that, especially when I get sick. It actually will help prevent you from getting sick if you inhale the silver particles. But
silver is antimicrobial. I've been a silver investor. I'm not right now. I sold all my silver a while ago, but I've studied gold and silver quite a bit, and silver is incredible. It's a very antimicrobial agent. And I've researched that a little bit, but I'd actually like to pick your brain more about that. Maybe not right at this moment, but yeah, that's super fascinating. I haven't personally been so confident to inhale or inject silver into my body, but not saying I wouldn't do it if I understood a little bit more in depth.
It's an important note for people to know that so the MSCs that Brent got was from the umbilical cord, right? And so they're different from they're adult stem cells, right? So they're different from embryonic stem cells, which had a lot of controversy a couple decades ago. Yeah, especially when George Bush, during the Bush administration, especially when he was president, because. But so these are different stem cells, right? They're adult stem cells. There's nothing unethical about them. No embryos are being destroyed. So yeah, they're totally morally superior. They work a lot better than embryonic stem cells for your health. If you're just injecting them, I mean, you should do research on both. But a lot of research has been done on embryonic stem cells, and it's really difficult to manipulate them and use them for your health. And so everyone's been using adult stem cells lately for therapeutic reasons. And so that's an important note to state. And there's been actually a lot of studies in mice extending their lifespan with stem cells, IVing them, a bunch of different ways and different dosages. But there's been results up to like almost 40% increase in maximum and average lifespan, which is like really impressive. I'll probably start IVing MSCs like maybe once or twice a year when I'm like 35 or 40 years old. I'll as like a medical tourist. Hopefully by then it'll be FDA approved in the U.S. Because I mean a lot of people are working on them on really just gene and cell therapies in general in the U.S. and we should see like a freaking like flood of them in the 2020s, and hopefully a lot of those cell therapies will be stem cells.
This is why it's important to have a more libertarian government that doesn't interfere with all our medical freedoms and our health freedoms and our food freedoms. Like it's just so evil that the government would step in and interfere with people getting stem cell therapies and people have to go to different countries and all this nonsense. And if it wasn't for all this difficulty and blockades they put, I might already have my stem cells banked. Who knows? Like because it would probably be cheaper, but because they make it so difficult, it raises the price, and then you have to go to different countries. Is it being done in America though? Are people doing like getting their stem cells banked in America?
Yes. Well, people are getting their stem cells banked in America. That's what I did through a company called Forever Labs. If you want a $500 discount code, we can put it in the link here. I put it in all my videos in the description. Awesome. So that's called Forever Labs. That's the company I did it through. But there's two things. There's allogeneic, which is what I did. That's when you get cells from outside of your body, from another person's cells, and injected in your body. But then there's something called autologous. And autologous stem cell therapy is being done in America quite a bit. And people do get good results from them in some cases. But I think one thing that probably everybody watching this understands is the cellular theory of aging, which is that humans age because our cells age, right? So if you are 70 years old and you're getting autologous stem cells, I mean, it could help you if you take stem cells out of your bone marrow or your adipose fat, liposuction, where there are a lot of the mesenchymal stem cells and hematopoietic stem cells. That could help you if you get them injected into, let's say, your knee or your ankle if you're having a problem there. But I would strongly argue that it's not going to help you as much as like a day zero stem cell from an umbilical cord. It's just way younger. We could get into details, but like it's not even close.
But if you are going to get your own stem cells banked, you got to get them as early as possible so that you can clone them later, and then you have kind of infinite stem cells of a younger state rather than an older state, right?
Yeah, you would want to get them as young as possible. Ideally, you'd want to do it at birth. I mean, we're all aging. I think we all know aging is a disease. There's so many different theories on aging. I think that the telomere theory of aging makes a lot of sense to me. As Bill Andrews says, bad things happen when telomeres get short. There's nothing good about short telomeres. And all of us pretty much, for the most part, have our telomeres shortening day by day. So
to get the youngest stem cells, like, would we have to clone ourselves and then take the stem cells from our baby self? Or, I mean, how would we do that? Because it has to be bioidentical to us, otherwise our bodies would reject the stem cells, right? We can't just get stem cells from a normal baby fetus of some other person, right?
Shinya Yamanaka years ago stripped the methyl groups from the genome. The Yamanaka factors, this turned an adult human skin cell into a induced pluripotent stem cell.
Oh,
so
I read an article about that. That's pretty.
Yeah, and now any high school kid can do that. Where this is going, I don't know. But Sinclair is taking like 2 or 3 of the 4 Yamanaka factors and turning removing some of the methyl groups from the genome. So some kind of brute force approach or unethical approach, like cloning yourself and then harvesting the stem cells. I mean, unless you're a Bond villain, that's not going to happen. And I'm 52. to get any younger stem cells that's not going to happen either. But
yeah, ideally you want to bank them when you're like when you have a child, or
yeah.
Hopefully more people will start doing that.
My parents neglected to do that, but
make some genetic modifications to your children while you're at it.
Yeah, but the induced pluripotent stem cells, I've not read anything of any therapies derived from that yet. I think it holds great promise because it's apparently quite simple. High school biology students are turning adult human cells into induced pluripotent stem cells. But
yes. Scott's correct on that. I do want to bring up something real quick. It was Bobby, when you were talking a few minutes ago, I didn't want to cut you off, but I want the audience to understand where stem cell research is right now. First of all, if you want to learn more about stem cells, there's so many different ways to do it. There's a Stem Cell 101 group on Facebook that I think is really healthy. They have good moderators. They have thousands of people in there, and you can generally get good information, but just watch out for people selling their stuff, like everything. But one thing that I'll state regarding induced pluripotent stem cells, there is a company called StemAid. They're in Cabo, Mexico. And I interviewed their director of research. She's the medical director, Dr. Denisa Renson, who's a longevity enthusiast. And they are using a 5-day-old blastocyst, embryonic pluripotent stem cell, and they are injecting people. And to most, even stem cell experts, their hair would be on fire right now. That's kind of where the stem cell world is right now. They think that that's absolutely crazy, and it's proven to be wrong. But here's how research in the world and propaganda and things and studies work. As Bobby was alluding to, around 2005, when the Bush administration outlawed embryonic stem cells, they did it because of the whole abortion, debate, in my opinion, and they wanted to get the vote of the right, which are more religious fundamentalist people, and they hate abortions. That's pretty clear. That shouldn't be controversial, what I stated there. So because of that, the embryonic stem cell research that looked very promising at the time just kind of went down the toilet. And what it really did is it went down the toilet in the US, and it spread to other places in the world that didn't have that dogmatic religious fundamentalism type of policy. Yeah. And so you've seen that research explode in places like Germany, Mexico, many other places in the world. And so what you have right now, what I believe, is you have most stem cell experts in the US believe that embryonic pluripotent stem cell therapy causes tumors and cancer. And the truth is that they do in certain scenarios. They do when you give too much, and they do when the body's already unhealthy. But what StemAid is doing is they're only doing about 20 million embryonic pluripotent stem cell injections via IV daily. And before they even do that, they're making sure that you have a healthy immune system enough that's not compromised to turn tumorous. And because they're so young, they're 5-day-old blastocysts, and their cells replicate so much, your body, this is according to Dr. Denisa Renson, so use me as like the messenger, don't shoot the messenger. This is what she says. I'm not an expert. But because of that, she says that the stem cells, the embryonic pluripotent stem cells that they inject at StemAid, will remove from your body within about 1 day. Your body uses them, and then they flush them out. So they inject you every single day, and they recommend, they have 1, 2, 3, and 4 week programs. So you're at their clinic in Cabo, Mexico, which there's worse places to be. Cabo's awesome, but you're there for 2, 3, or 4 weeks. I mean, it sounds great if it works. There's great anecdotal evidence that it does. Denisa Renson has had the injections herself and says she feels much better from them. But 4 weeks compared to a 1-day outpatient procedure like I did, and most people do for stem cells, are like night and day. So there's that, and then there's also fetal stem cell injections. I've reported on that extensively. There's a company called EMCell, EMCELL. They're in Kiev, Ukraine, and they've been doing this since the early 90s, and they've been getting, again, anecdotally, very great results. They have their own clinical trials, but what do people in America and the FDA say about those clinical trials? They say, those are Ukrainian people. It's a bunch of bullshit, basically. So you have that sparring back and forth, you know? So the FDA people will say like, oh, those clinical trials don't exist. The Ukrainian people will say, well, we've been doing this for almost 3 decades. And so where do you go? You go to the anecdotal research. There's a great documentary called The God Cells. It's by Eric Merola. I should be interviewing him hopefully later this month. And
Awesome.
if you watch that information, that documentary and other information, man, I've reached out to these people on Facebook. These are real people who had autism, type 2 diabetes, MS. You know, there's people making YouTube channels for over 10 years with literally dozens of videos showing them get better from MS, from, you know, certain stem cell injections. So like, this stuff works. It's legit. It's just unfortunate that most people still don't know about it. And that's probably not going to change much in the next year or two. The best way to do it is YouTube, videos like this, you know, the internet. But even YouTube just shut down the company Dream Body Clinic where I had the stem cells injected. YouTube just shut down their channel about 3 months ago. And they shut down their channel about every year.
Jeez.
So
Wow. That's so evil.
And
evil.
if you Body Clinic, if you go to their Facebook page, they just posted 2 days ago that Google just hired the ex-FDA chairman as their health advisor for YouTube. So
The Scott Gottlieb.
who? Say that again.
Is that Scott Gottlieb?
No, Josh Kettner, Joshua. He goes by Joshua on Facebook. Kettner, Ketner.
Jeez.
He is the founder of Dream Body Clinic, and he just posted that article. So,
If it's across the country, if it's not in the U.S., then why do they care so much?
Because they want to squash, man. Like power squashes everything. My wife and I are watching Star Wars right now.
Follow the money, right? They're just trying to.
I hate it's so fresh in my brain. My wife had never watched Star Wars. I wanted to watch Episode 9, so we've been watching all the episodes recently. We're on Episode 6, and I love those movies because they explain the length that people will go to consolidate power and the time and energy. Like, I got a book back there, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, wealthy billionaire, founder of PayPal. Like, how you create a sustainable business is by creating a monopoly. They want monopolies, you know, and they have it in a way, and they want to squash with their tentacles as far out as they can. But the good news is, I'll end my little rant on a positive note. Like, there's other places to go. We do have the internet. Even if a YouTube video gets shut down, another one goes back up. Like, I'm an optimist, and I do believe that things are getting better. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we're getting highly interconnected, so it's becoming more and more difficult to hide stuff. Corruption in the healthcare system is like so horrible, man. Like, just imagine a lot of money will be lost from innovation and especially life extension treatments. It'll take so many people off of different medications and 1 second. Sorry. All that.
Scott, what do you think about all this?
The pharmaceutical industry isn't evil. It's motivated by law. They have to maximize profits for the next 3 months. So it's more just stupid than
I agree with
evil.
I agree with you, Scott. I've never said it's evil, and I've never really implied that. I'm just kind of explaining how business works, and when you grow up and become a real big boy, and I'm an investor too.
Sure.
You have to really figure out how shit works. And
I think they're evil. I always say I think they're evil, man. I think these people, because they probably know they're suppressing cures. They're probably all this stuff. They don't care because
they have families that die of family members who die of cancer and stuff like that. It's just they're maximizing profits for the next 3 months, and they do make decisions that seem really stupid if you're planning for the next 5 decades.
Yeah,
but we're stuck with the FDA. There are ways around it.
There's one idea here that will help people understand this. It's called compartmentalization. So you can have an organization that has 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people, 10 million, 100 million people. you could have most of the people in there thinking that they're working for a certain goal. That's kind of why I brought up Star Wars. Senator Palpatine, became Chancellor Palpatine, became Emperor Palpatine. Right. And, I think compartmentalization is really the answer here.
It's the people at the top that are evil.
Yes. Yeah. And if you want to use
the doctors and the nurses, like they don't know better, but it's the people at the top.
And if you want to use the word evil, that's fine. I think Scott would probably disagree. I see what you mean, and I think in certain ways those people are like basically evil. But what they're doing is they are working on the fiduciary responsibility that they believe that they have to increase shareholder value in the short term, which is the next quarter by quarter.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's happening from that is they're having ripple effects where we're not getting a long-term view on this. 5-year, 10-year view, as Scott said. So I'll kind of leave it at that. That's what I like. You're not going to really convince me that it's not that way, because I've understood it pretty well for a number of years that that's how it is, and it's not really going to change anytime soon either. And so I don't even know how to change it in this paradigm. It's just the way that it is. So we have to just kind of understand it and know how to navigate it, I think.
Hey, Brent, have you got a chance to talk to Peter Nygaard about his stem cell therapy? Because he's an approachable person. You can actually just find him at a conference. If I got to talk to him at one of these SENS conferences, and he's very enthusiastic about his own stem cell treatments. I forgot where he goes to get his stem cell treatments, but he'd be a good person for you to reach out to and maybe interview.
I'm pretty sure that he's gone to the Stem Cell Institute in Panama, which is Dr. Neil Reardon's clinic. He might have gone to other places as well, but I'm pretty sure that's his go-to place. Yeah, he's like a affluent billionaire. I like him in the sense that he has the right mindset, and he's trying to do everything that he knows to treat and cure, his aging and live as long as possible. And he has tremendous resources. I just don't think he's up to date on some of the most recent research. Okay. Like, for example, I'm a real big believer in Sierra Sciences and Dr. Bill Andrews and, telomerase gene therapy, for example. And, maybe telomerase gene therapy will show not to be as promising as I believe that it is. But I believe that we should find that out by actually doing it on humans who want it done. And Peter Nygaard had an opportunity to invest in Sierra Sciences a number of years ago. And, Bill Andrews told me, I'll try to keep this as PC as possible. But Bill Andrews said that Peter Nygaard's investment proposal was nothing short of, pathetic. And just so that's been the case in general that I've seen with a lot of these investors who talk the talk. Billionaires, we need them to start like really making investments, like the Warren Buffetts of the world. The Jeff Bezos made $100 million investment, but I think he did it with the wrong company. So I just think we're in this phase right now where we don't need to just get the public interested. We need to get billionaires really educated. I went to Calico a few years ago to try and sell to them, and really I was just trying to learn more about their operations when I was at LinkedIn selling corporate enterprise e-learning. And man, like, does anybody know what Calico's done? It's been like 5 years. There's like nothing that they have published. Right. Goes back to kind of how we started the conversation. More years keep ticking along. Like, I'm not getting any younger. I don't think any of us are. Like, I want these billionaires to really start doing some stuff where I'm maybe most excited about right now is the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. At least what they're saying is that they're saying the right things, it seems like, in their own PC corporate speak. But I think Zuckerberg's donated at least $8 billion of Facebook stock to them, and maybe it's $11 billion now. And I think he has plans to donate more, and they really want to cure all diseases by the 20. So
yeah, they plan on donating 99% of shares of Facebook, which is like a heavy amount of money, shares to life extension and curing all diseases. And so, yeah, and they have some like really awesome projects. But
excited for the future.
I'm totally convinced Zuckerberg wants to live forever. I mean, he literally says like he's interested in questions about what that affect people, like how do we cure all diseases. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, he definitely wants to like Live forever.
Let me
He's
tell
awesome. And we got
this
Peter
is-
Thiel. We got Peter Thiel. Thank goodness. He's on our team.
I've investigated this thoroughly, guys. Almost all of the wealthiest people on the planet want to live as long as possible and increase their health span. They just don't talk publicly about this because they run massive public companies and have massive amounts of shares, and they don't want to upset their shareholders. But like Warren Buffett has talked with one of his good friends many times the last few years about life extension. I learned that through Peter Attia, who's a medical doctor who runs an anti-aging practice in New York City. He's talked about that. It's one of his patients. Larry Ellison has had a website and a company where he was working on anti-aging for decades, through the 90s. He since shut the website down. Mark Zuckerberg, all these guys.
Do you think Trump wants to live forever?
Fuck yeah, he does.
Heck
He doesn't talk. I think anybody who's rational wants to live as long and healthy as possible, and it's just that people don't believe it's possible, so they'll tell you, oh no, I don't want that. But anybody who's rational.
That's the thing though with Buffett and Bill Gates, they don't believe it's possible. And if you've seen them there's a show on Netflix, I forget the name of it, but it's Bill Gates show on Netflix. You can find
Bill's Brain. I watched it. It was really good.
Yeah, it's great, but you watch their personal habits, and there's this scene where Bill Gates meets Warren Buffett in a diner for dinner, and they eat for lunch, and they eat cheeseburgers with crinkle cut fries and are drinking milkshakes. And Bill Gates is an old man before his time. He's 12 years older than I am, but he looks 30 years older.
I agree.
And Warren Buffett, he is an old man, and with the diets they eat, they're not gonna live much longer. And you can tell from their diet that they don't believe it's possible, and they don't care.
Well, Scott, here I'll say something real quick. Warren Buffett drinks about 5 Cokes a day, and he has for decades. He's open about that. And I agree generally with what you said. However, what Peter Attia's patient said, Peter Attia, again, is the anti-aging doctor. This was a couple years ago. He said, I have a patient who's been friends with Warren Buffett for decades, and he sees Warren about every 6 months, for literally the last few decades. And every 6 months, Warren would have a new investment opportunity for his friend, who's also an investor, but nothing like Warren Buffett. But the gentleman's last couple Warren every 6 months or so, he hasn't mentioned an investment at all. He's been telling me about, longevity research he's been doing and what he's excited about. So that gets me excited because Warren Buffett's 89 years old and he has $88 billion approximately. So it just takes one investment of a person like Warren Buffett to come in and change this entire longevity industry. That's what I'm focused on. It's something I've been in enterprise sales for years. That's why I'm able to do this. I quit my job to do this full time. We need to go elephant hunting. We need to get the biggest purse strings to understand this and start making real investments. Not this bullshit $10 million or even $100 million. We need billions of dollars of investments from private investors.
Absolutely.
As soon as possible. And the better way to even go is populating or educating the public so we get governments to actually start investing in these therapeutics as well, or both. Yeah. But that kind of information about Warren Buffett, when I learned that kind of encouraged me because I've followed Warren Buffett for years. I've never once heard him talk about longevity therapeutics, but I believe he is researching this secretly. And his time is running out, so he better figure this out and make an investment soon. And I want him to make an investment in the right company,
Word on the street is that Trump doesn't eat too healthy either. I've seen pictures of him eating fast food. Unless this is all.
Bill Andrews talked to Donald Trump about investing into his research, but Donald Trump gave him a poor investment strategy, and so Bill had to turn it down. But he said that. Bill said that Trump wanted to live forever, so
really,
hopefully he starts talking about it more.
Oh my gosh, I gotta talk to Bill Andrews about that. That's awesome.
I know, right?
I wish I could be Trump's. I want to be Trump's nutrition advisor, so I can help him live forever.
I've also spoken with Bill about that. Bill was at Mar-a-Lago years ago, before the 2008 crash, and same thing as Peter Nygaard, according to Bill. Trump just tried to back him into some. It's basically a horrible business deal. If you watch Shark Tank, it's like what Mr. Wonderful always does. He's like, I will give you a loan, and then if the business is successful, then you'll have to pay me like some ridiculous interest rate, and I'll own like all this equity. And if the business fails, then you'll still have to pay me back because it's a loan. That's basically what like Donald Trump and Peter Nargard proposed to Bill Andrews. So of course he didn't take that deal.
All right, so I said we'd be taking audience questions. We have one. So speaking of gene therapy, we've been talking about that. We have Naratu asking what we think about CRISPR. I'm a fan of it. I think that's going to be one of the best things we got going for gene therapy. I mean, I wouldn't want to be one of these guinea pigs working, like eating CRISPR foods, in the same reason I wouldn't want to be a guinea pig for genetic modification. I'm sure other transhumanists are less skeptical than I am, and they wouldn't mind being a guinea pig, but eventually I'll have to be a guinea pig. I'm going to have to edit my genes and like take out the genes that have potential for disease or whatnot. So yeah, I'm a fan of it. What do you guys think? CRISPR.
CRISPR is awesome, man. I think what is it? They actually extended a mice lifespan that had progeria. It was a model for progeria using CRISPR. They injected a bunch of CRISPR into them to put in the lamina A and C, I think, gene. So I mean that's just really great. I mean, that's not going to help healthy individuals, but what's exciting about that study is that it goes to show that you can inject CRISPR and not it's not as dangerous as people were thinking. But George Church just recently came out with a study in Nature, I think, or is in the PNAS. And in the PNAS journal, and he used 3 different gene therapies. I'm not sure if he used CRISPR, but they used the AAV9 or whatever a
adenylylated virus.
Yeah, they used number 9 or 8 to get the gene therapies to wherever it's going in the body. I don't think. I think AAV. I forgot where those are targeted specifically, but I'm sure they get to specific tissues. But he used FGF21. He wanted to overexpress FGF21. This new gene that I've never heard of. I forgot what it's called. And then Clotho, which are all popular ways of extending lifespan. One sec. Sorry.
Scott, what do you think? Well, Bobby's.
I think it's got enormous potential. I haven't seen anything practical yet, but for humans, but enormous potential.
If you guys watched the 60 Minutes piece that Scott Pelley did on Dr. George Church in his lab in Harvard, it was about a month ago. It was in early December. You can do a Google search. Unfortunately, it's not on YouTube because CBS never puts their stuff on YouTube. But that's really good. And what I took away from that is that Dr. George Church believes that CRISPR won't be used for human life extension until about 2030. And if that sounds exciting to you, in a way it is. I mean, I'm only 34, so selfishly I think about myself, okay, I'll be 44 there, that'd be great. But just because a very credentialed scientist like Dr. George Church gives a 10-year time span, I just want to motivate people. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It could never happen. Like, we have to make this happen, and we can make it happen this year if people gave a shit and invested money and time and energy into this. So these timelines are great, from a respected person like Dr. George Church, but it's just a guess. It's just his educated guess. So let's make it happen. Let's educate people, and let's get. I'm
sure he has good reasons for that. Like, there's a lot of there should be a lot of FDA approved gene therapies in the 2020s. The FDA commissioners recently said that there's going to be 10 to 20 gene cell therapies FDA approved, starting every year, starting in 2025, which would be incredible. That's going to be like a complete revolution in the 2020s. And so I could see people, since there's going to be so many gene therapies on the market, I could see people being a lot more comfortable with editing their genome directly using CRISPR, especially by 2030. Sorry about the noise. I'm in my friend's garage. I stayed the night at his house last night. But And then another what I was saying about George Church's study that he published. So that's 3 different gene therapies that he did in mice, which is really awesome. No one's really done that yet. And there's a lot more gene. Those all have life extension results and really robust ones too. And so hopefully we'll see him. We'll see more people do multiple gene therapies. I think Aubrey de Grey said he's trying to work on doing 45 different gene therapies at the same time. Which that's really what we need to start seeing. But yeah, looks like Brent had to go for a second.
All right, it's okay. We could take some audience questions.
Okay.
William is asking, what's wrong with GMO? I'm sure. Well, I just don't want to be the guinea pig. So it's like, I'm not saying I know for sure that GMO is bad long term and everything. I don't have the studies or everything. But I'm just like, I always live according to the philosophy of better safe than sorry. So as long as there's a potential risk for something, if I can eat a food that's not GMO, why not go for that? Why not go for the food that's more ancient, that human beings have been eating for a long time, rather than experiment with this new thing that could potentially have a downside? So I approach things from a better safe than sorry mentality. What about you? What about you, Bobby? Do you avoid GMOs, or are you okay with them? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with them. I mean, there's a lot of things that are GMO that I think people don't know about, and it's not really a matter. It's not a matter whether GMOs are good or not. It's a matter of how you genetically modify them and whether they go through the proper channels of the scientific process to make sure that they're safe. But yeah.
But have these things really been studied for safety in the long term? Like, they can't even do those studies. And they'd have to do a study for 20, 30 years to see what happens to somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some issues behind some genetically modified organisms, especially in agriculture. But I think that it's more about industries being corrupt than the actual genetic modification. I think people get that mixed up. Another great study that came out recently this year that hopefully one of us can talk to Bill Andrews about is they bred mice to have longer telomeres, and then they extracted the embryonic stem cells and implanted them into a different normal healthy mouse, and that extended their lifespan. And that's really exciting to see. Not only they're injecting a stem cell therapy, which I was hoping it'd be an adult stem cell, but they're testing life extension for telomere lengthening, which is really great. Something we need more of.
Here's something. Yeah, I mean, whether you guys think GMOs are safe or not, I'm sure you guys can all agree that you guys think probably they should at least be labeled, right? So that everyone knows what they're eating, so that if they're going to eat it, they at least know the danger and the potential risk they're getting into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say something on that real quick. There's a great show. I've watched every episode. It's called Penn and Teller Bullshit. It was on Showtime. Have you guys heard of this show before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I watched every episode of that, and it's a show that my wife are going back and watching right now. It was on from 2003 to 2010. And that show made me smarter in so many different ways. And they did an episode on GMOs. So there's a few things that I want to point out. First of all, the term GMO is a really bad term because it confuses a lot of people.
Yeah.
So GMOs have been going on for thousands of years. Humans have been genetically modifying our foods for thousands of years. We've just been doing it very, very slowly by selectively figuring out what type of foods that we want and how we want to change them. And the same way we've been GMOing dogs, essentially. Look at all the different types of dogs.
I think there's an important distinction, though, to make between the type of genetic modification that's going on now and the hybridization of plants that takes that's a natural process. That even happens in nature, hybridization and things. So it's breeding plants is different than gene splicing them and going in there and injecting things, because in nature you're not going to get a fish gene inside of a tomato, but we can do that, and that's the distinction. That's the important distinction. I think it's an important distinction.
I agree. I was correct. You're totally right, and I was kind of building to that point. And so then from there, once you understand those two, then you need to go to the actual scientists and understand like what are they actually doing, and making a decision from there. But I just want people to, because it's been my experience, and they make fun of it in the show. It's kind of a science show and a comedy show in once. If you've watched Penn and Teller bullshit, and I highly recommend it because it's hilarious in certain ways. And what they expose is that the public, once again, is just not generally educated on this term and what it actually means. So, but I don't disagree with the points that you just made.
So before we ended the video, I wanted to quickly go through the different promising life science treatments everyone's taking. I know Scott is taking a pretty solid regimen of different treatments. Scott, would you be interested in sharing that with us?
Sure. I mean, you want to go through the list?
Yeah, you gave me like a really solid list the other day of what you're taking and how it's helped you. Do you think we can go through that list?
Yeah, okay. I start the day out with nicotinamide riboside. I won't give out the brand name. Carnosine, mega green tea extract, CoQ10, quercetin, and berberine. Before lunch, I have Vasipa, which is fish oil. Also another berberine. Some vitamins, vitamin D3, K2, magnesium. I take this prostate health supplement. It's I forget the brand name. It's got saw palmetto and some other stuff in it. Seems to help. Alpha lipoic acid, boron, glutathione. At night, I take melatonin with L-theanine, time-release melatonin, DHEA,
Jeez.
lemon balm, generally a multivitamin, and another berberine.
Jeez, that's a.
I take a lot of the same stuff. I take a lot of the same stuff. I take the NMN supplements as well. I take lemon balm at night too. Look, I have right here. That helps me. That helps me sleep.
I don't know that it's ever hurt anybody.
Boron. I like that you take boron. I think that's a very important mineral that a lot of people are deficient in. And in Israel, they have like the highest boron levels in their water, and they like live a real long time over there, like exceptionally long. So I think could be related to the boron in their water. Gosh, yeah, you got a lot of good stuff in there. I like it. I can't remember.
And just as a disclaimer for everyone who's watching, all the viewers, we're not doctors, so make sure you get your doctor's advice before taking any of these supplements or drugs or
in no way
biologics.
Advocating any substance. You take it at your own risk.
Yeah.
Taking it at my own risk. I realize there could be side effects. Some of them could be quite bad. This stuff seems to work for me.
Yeah, and a lot of those you listed have extended model organisms' lifespan quite robustly. Also, and you said you've fixed various things, right, Scott? Like you said, you had BPH, and a few other things, and you said you've overcame that after taking these.
And then let's not discount the importance of sleep, diet, and exercise. But the BPH, I think it's safe to say. I forgot to mention, I take a high dose of fisetin, however you pronounce it, about every 6 months.
Oh, and that's a good molecule. That's from strawberries.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a good one.
Exactly.
Oh, and I love that you take berberine. That's one thing I take as well, and that's a good... I was talking to Bobby about that. That's what I take instead of metformin. I'm against metformin. Yeah. I think people should be taking berberine. It's got a lot of the same benefits. It flips on the longevity genes in the same way metformin does. It's good. Berberine.
Fisetin has been shown to remove senescent cells from mice and human cell cultures. There haven't been a lot of tests on humans. There's like 2 ongoing right now. Frailty in old women, but it's thought that it reduces senescent cells, which are responsible for a lot of the inflammation of age associated with aging. And the BPH, which I hope you guys avoid it when you're my age. It's annoying, to say the least, and it really interferes with your sleep, which interferes with your health. BPH is caused, at least in part, by senescent epithelial cells building up in the prostate. And I took this stuff not having any clue what was going to happen. A month or two later, I noticed I was sleeping through the night after my first treatment, and now I've done 3. I'm taking like 2 or 3 grams a day for between 5 and 15 days. So it's a high dose, and you do this at your own risk. Okay, it's just not been tested on humans. It could be dangerous. People have been ingesting Fisetin as long as there have been people, and no one's been harmed by it yet. But no one's been taking this kind of dose.
Yeah.
So I was pre-diabetic just a few years ago. I had my hemoglobin A1C was 5.4, which is not bad. But my fasting blood sugar was like 114. And
is that why you started taking the berberine? Because berberine's really supposed to help with the blood sugar and diabetes.
Yeah, and I've kept taking it, and I've noticed it dramatically dropped my cholesterol. Also, my resting heart rate is down to the mid-50s. Now, I do work out every day. I do a cardio workout, 70 minutes of cardio every day. But the berberine, I think, is responsible for my lower... Berberine and intermittent fasting are responsible for the lower fasting blood sugar level. My hemoglobin A1C is now 5.1, which is really good. Not that 5.4 was bad, but I'm not considered pre-diabetic anymore. And how much of that is berberine and how much of that is intermittent fasting, I couldn't tell you. But
yeah, we need the proper tests and controls to really know how these are helping. And
do you take any?
It's really important.
Did you take? I forgot. Did you list resveratrol as a supplement you take or not?
I've taken a break from resveratrol. I took it for years. I've been taking nicotinamide riboside for years, and I've been taking resveratrol for years. And I don't have an opinion on resveratrol. It's a fascinating molecule.
It's supposed to work well with the NMN and the NAD.
I just don't have an opinion on it.
Right. For those who don't want to supplement, but you want to get some at least, you could just eat peanut butter. It actually really is a very high source of resveratrol for a food. It is a very good source. Yes.
I've got a bottle of it right here, and I did take it for years. And I was overweight, and I didn't exercise much. And it's entirely possible that it protected me like Professor Sinclair's mice. Mm-hmm. Then again, I don't know.
Right. I think it is a generally good principle to try to get this stuff from food as well. Like we could get a lot of this stuff from food, like quercetin. We could get that from onions and capers, and different foods are really high in it. But yeah,
that's had unexpected effects. I used to have a problem with allergies, and I took the quercetin because I read about the dasatinib and quercetin combination. And I thought, well, I'll just try this stuff. I don't know exactly why. I thought maybe it might help with inflammation or something. My allergies went away.
Yeah, I think it's an antihistamine. I think.
Yeah, I told my ENT doctor about this. He scratched his head, and he was like, and the next time I went to the appointment, he'd been taking it. And he's like, well, it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's great about these different emerging life extension treatments is a lot of them are just, dietary supplements. And, so they're generally safe. It just be, and there's a lot of human trials with a lot of them, so you could check the dosage and if there's any side effects at those dosages. And so it's like, might as well, eat those foods or take those supplements, if they're generally safe. But, always talk to a doctor before, taking those just in case. And then with the drugs, you can also check clinical trials. Like, Brent did a lot of research before he got the stem cells IV'd into him.
Oh, yeah.
But, he figures out that it's safe. And so he went and got it. Are you going to keep taking the stem cell therapy over time, like IVing it, Brent?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I did do a lot of research. I cannot emphasize that enough before I did this, like years and years. And then leading up to when I did it in December of 2018, I did months of intense research on finding not only the right clinic for me, but just to make sure that, it was legitimate. So to answer that question, Bobby, it's kind of an overarching answer that I'll give that I think is really important for everybody to think about in longevity and health, which is personalized medicine. And it's kind of what Scott was alluding to before. Personalized medicine is the key concept that everybody should understand, combined with return on investment, ROI. So understanding what do you need specifically for right now to hit your life goals, and then how much does that cost, and how much are you willing to spend? Everybody is in a different financial situation, and everybody is in a different health situation on their journey. So some people are just not willing to give up the money to reach the health goals, and vice versa. So it's a very, very personal question what you ask. And so I'll just answer for now. Like I paid about $10,000 to do what I did. Is that a lot of money to me? That's even a subjective question. It's tough to answer. I have plenty of money and I'm fine, but I also have plenty of money because I don't like wasting money. And if I think that stem cell injections can really help me and there's nothing else that can do better in the future, then I'll do it again. But right now I'm doing great. And I don't want to go down to drop 10 grand like on a yearly basis just as like a therapy. I think that the things that I'm doing right now should be good enough to hopefully reach me to longevity, escape velocity, depending on when we get there.
Yeah. Age is a big factor for people. Also, if you're older, then, you may feel more compelled to be more proactive in getting these treatments.
All right, we have a question, an audience question. This one will be a good one for Brent. And it is it technically legal to store your stem cells? A stem cell bank in Florida called US Stem got shut down by the FDA and had their customer cells destroyed, later closing even more clinics. And that question is by Transhumania. And Transhumania, we got to do a live stream soon. We'll get him. He'd be a good person to talk to about. He has a whole supplement protocol, the Kaufman protocol.
It's a great YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I think as long as you're not an aborted fetus, it probably should be legal. But who knows? I mean, the laws in this country are insane regarding stem cells. I'd go to another country if I could afford it.
So there's a little bit of confusion there, and I understand the details of what's going on here. So first of all, I also interviewed Dr. Sandy Kaufman. She likes to pronounce it Kaufman, by the way, not Kaufman. At RadFest, she's phenomenal. So her protocol is awesome, and I'm also on her protocol. She's got a great app, and the book's great too. But you could also just download the app to follow her protocol, and it's also personalized medicine, which is why I need the app. And then regarding the stem cell question, there's a little bit of confusion there. So Kristen Camella is a stem cell doctor that I'm connected with. She's kind of an OG in stem cells. She's, I think, in her early 40s, but she's been interested in stem cells for a couple decades. And I think she's the CSO of the U.S. Stem Cell Clinic that you just mentioned down in Florida that was shut down. And they are not banking stem cells like what I had with Forever Labs. What they are doing is they're doing the stem cell injections. So there might be some stem cell banking as an aspect of their company. I don't think that there is, as far as like autologous. Actually, because what I think that they're doing is they're doing autologous, which, remember, is taking out your own stem cells from your body, either your adipose fat, your belly fat, or either your bone marrow. and then re-injecting that. But that's a same-day procedure. They take it out and re-inject it. I don't think they're doing any banking. So what I had done was through Forever Labs. They're headquartered in Michigan, and they told me that my stem cells and my wife's are actually cryogenically frozen at a company in Indiana that's actually a partner of theirs. And am I worried about the FDA coming out and, taking my stem cells? I mean, yeah. Do I let it leave me up at night? Absolutely not. Things are going to happen that are out of my control, and it is what it is. I'm just trying to do the best that I can for me and my family.
Yeah, it's legal to bank them in the U.S. You just can't IV them, the adult stem cells, unless it's like experimental and there's some sort of oversight. You might be able to get like a doctor to do it, but I don't know. I think they can get in trouble for that.
And there's even a greater backstory to Kristen Comella and her company as well, which I followed as it was happening, where the FDA did go into their clinic and write up a very detailed report of what they wanted to see them change, and they did not comply. So that's mainly why they were shut down. I do not agree with the FDA. I want to be very clear on that in this case. I think that they were basically bullying U.S. Stem Cell Clinic and Kristen Comella and the rest of the people there when they have had phenomenal results. Not as good as where I believe I went to in Mexico, but they are helping people and have been for many years. And there's a lot of people there who really appreciate the work that they've done, and the FDA shut them down. So that's kind of all I'll say on that.
Okay.
Allergies.
Yeah,
I had really bad allergies when I was a kid. They have gotten better as I've just improved my health and my lifestyle through my 20s. And then one thing people might not be aware of, your body produces 4 different types of white blood cells. One of those types of white blood cells is specifically for allergies. It helps fight allergies. So for example, if your body is not producing enough of that particular white blood cell, or if that white blood cell is damaged, it's not completely efficient, then all of a sudden you'll be allergic to certain things. So it very well could be that the healthy lifestyle that Scott had been living and myself and other folks, and then adding in all these supplements on top of the getting good sleep as the foundation, exercise and eating a proper diet and thinking positively and meditation and yoga, then you're taking all of the pills and things that are right for you. You could very well see allergies just basically disappear or improve dramatically.
Yeah, I think I heard Dr. Neil Reardon say from the Stem Cell Institute in Panama. He said that when patients would go see this other doctor, he knew to fix their diet and exercise and give them certain supplements, that he would see better health effects when he IV'd the mesenchymal stem cells into them. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
All right, so we got a few more audience questions. Love the audience participation, you guys. Thanks for the questions. William asks, do you think we'll be able to freeze people and then revive them thousands of years later? So a cryonics question. Now, I talk about this on my channel. I'm a big skeptic that cryonics would actually work. I think that maybe too much damage is being done, and when these people are reconstructed, I think maybe they'll be lost, and that the consciousness, the original consciousness, will be destroyed. And I'm very skeptical that they'll be able to be actually restored. Most other transhumanists would be a little bit more optimistic than I am, but I want to figure out something better than cryonics, and I'm working on it, like an alternative to cryonics. Like, there's got to be something better. Maybe something, I was thinking, like something that doesn't involve freezing the body or even vitrification, because I don't like the study of chemicals, but maybe something that would keep the body in a warm state, like keeping the blood pumping. Like, I'd rather be hooked up to one of those machines, like in the body being kept warm and like blood pumping through my body. If there's something like that could be done, I'd
like life support. And
then they could inject me with like things, and then my body would still respond to it. Like, they can inject me with like NAD and stuff, like while I'm in this comatose state. At least the blood is still pumping through my body. So I was thinking of like maybe that could be some kind of alternative or something. But I don't know. I haven't got it figured out, but I want to find something better than cryonics. What do you guys think? Are you guys fans of cryonics?
I think that cryonics should be a legitimate physician-assisted suicide option
Oh,
if you've got the money and you want to be stored. I mean, if I had the money and was terminally ill, I would opt for cryonics. Whether it's feasible, it might be one day.
Yeah.
It's not.
You don't really know. There could be too much damage. That'd be really great if we really need more people to sign up for chronics. I was gonna do a video soon, showing me like sign up and talk to life insurance agents and stuff. Because the more people who sign up, the more research that will be, more efforts will be directed towards that research and advancing that technology, and the more of a chance of people living, right? Like, when you cremate someone, 100% chance you're not coming back, right? But if you're cryopreserved, at least you have somewhat of a chance. And I think a society that respected that would be a much healthier society.
I'm sorry. We're cryopreserving dead bodies at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is inherently a problem. I think if we cryopreserved living people, terminally ill people only, I think, but living people, I think you'd have a better chance of reviving them. And you got to wait a certain number of hours or minutes after death to cryonically preserve someone. I mean, there's got to be some town in South America where nobody's going to ask a lot of questions if a man dying of cancer is frozen. But
what do you guys think of my idea of, like, do you think it could be feasible to keep the blood moving through the arteries? And that way you could even, like, hook them up to an IV with, like, certain nutrient things in there. And, like, why not do that as opposed to freezing them and creating...
Yeah, man, just, like, keep someone on life support, essentially.
Yeah, like these machines. Like, why couldn't it be done with machines and, like, pumping, like, artificially pumping the blood through the body and the brain and everything?
Yeah.
Like,
that's been done for decades.
Yeah, it just costs a little bit of money to stay on life support, at times. And, insurance can cover it for a while, but eventually the money starts stacking up to keep people either in a coma state or just, maybe from aging. They're just, hooked up to the machines.
I mean, Karen Quinlan was on that for, 30 years?
Yeah. And, there might be too much damage that occurs during chronics, but, might as well do it. And the more people who do it, I'm sure the less expensive it'll be. And it's actually somewhat affordable, especially if you're young and you get life insurance.
Or if you just get your head frozen, right? That's what people are doing. They're just cutting off their heads. Just getting
with Sergio Canavero's help. And so, but there's something I always want to bring up during my talks is for everyone to Google the website Hager. HAGR. It's Human Aging Genomics Resources. They provide an entire list of the different emerging life extension treatments that are coming out. And I'm about to donate like 50 more that they don't have, like 50 or like 60, with robust life extension results, specifically in mice, anywhere between like 15 and 50%. And they're methods that we'll start seeing being done in humans soon. We just we need more support, some more funding, and Google Hager.
All right, I guess we could start thinking about wrapping this up. We do have another audience question. William says, "What do you eat in a day, Rowan? Is your diet very strict?" This could be an opportunity for everyone to just tell, what's your diet like? What's your longevity diet? So my diet is a lot of steamed vegetables. That's a big staple. I'm not scared of the animal fats, so I'll use some grass-fed butter on there. I'll just melt some grass-fed butter on my steamed vegetables. I like to do, of course, a lot of peanut butter is in my diet. A lot of trehalose. This is pretty much the only sugar I eat is trehalose. I think it's a very healing sugar. I think it's going to prevent Alzheimer's. It clears out the plaques from the brain. It prevents fatty liver disease. So it actually has a lot of the opposite effects of the damaging effects of sugar that most people think of sugar as being bad. This is actually a good sugar.
Yeah, last time we talked, I looked it up, and they've tested it in C. elegans and extended their lifespan quite a bit.
There you go. Yeah.
With trehalose.
It's pretty awesome. and it actually cured my migraines. I used to have horrible migraines, and I believe it was
What is this?
consuming trehalose. It's a sugar.
I-
It's called it's they call it the mushroom sugar because it's found in mushrooms. It's also in the blood of insects. It's like
Cool.
the blood sugar for insects, but it's also in mushrooms in smaller amounts. But now they can mass produce it in China, and it's much cheaper than it used to be. It used to be this expensive thing. Now it's like cheap. I can afford to eat like 7-8 tablespoons a day. I sweeten my hot chocolate with it. It's really awesome. So there's that. I eat some moderate amount of fruits, vegetables, generally whole foods. I don't eat processed foods. I don't eat fast foods.
Good.
I eat organic when possible, especially with things that are on the dirty dozen. There's this list of the dirty dozen where the most pesticide residues will occur on these foods, especially to if you're gonna eat organic, choose to get the dirty dozen foods and berries and things where you can't peel off the skin. Get that stuff organic. Yeah, try to avoid pesticides. I generally don't eat salads. That's kind of weird. A lot of people think salads are good for you. I like to cook all my vegetables because I don't like to potentially get like E. coli. You know, you hear about these outbreaks about E. coli and salmonella in the vegetables. So I just cook all my vegetables. I think it's
the dressings that usually get people. You know, they'll get some like really fatty dressing. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like a Thai vinaigrette or
they
something.
Use vegetable oils. I'm generally against a lot of these vegetable oils, like corn oil, soybean oil. I stay away from those like the plague. They're very bad for you. I think they cause heart disease and everything. So yeah, I try to get a lot of antioxidants and different variety of foods, different variety of plant foods. I believe in the hermetic effect of a lot of the plant phytochemicals being good for you. So a lot of the people on the carnivore diet are against all the plants and they think it's all toxic, but I think the plant toxins are actually good for you. They stimulate the body to heal in certain ways. And Dr. Rhonda Patrick is one of my inspirations when it comes to dietary strategies. You might want to research her. You guys know about Dr. Rhonda Patrick, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. And I do eat. I'm not vegetarian, so I do eat some sardines. I try to choose the smallest fishes so I don't get a bunch of mercury. I think that's a good source of protein, and that way I can get the long chain omega fats for my brain and neurological health and my cognition.
Cool.
And I do eat dairy. Is another part of my diet. Cheese. I like raw milk. Is something I eat. I think it's good for longevity. I'm not afraid of it because a lot of the longest living countries eat dairy, and I think I've done a whole presentation on like the health benefits of cheese, and I think it's good for you because spermidine is good for autophagy, and I could go on, but anyways,
Sure.
You guys, what's your guys' diet like?
Hey, what about you, Brent? Do you just do intermittent fasting, or do you focus on your diet?
No, I focus on my diet as well too. I'm trying to be as aggressive as possible to live as healthy and long as possible. So I generally agree with everything that Rowan stated. I shop at Costco primarily, which is the largest seller of organic foods now on the planet.
I shop at Costco too.
Yeah. And do you get your sardines there in the little can?
Yes, that is my sardines. Yeah. You got it.
Yeah. And I buy a lot of my organic fruit there in the frozen section as well too. It's just incredibly cheaper. I get the organic mixed berries. So yeah, definitely be very careful. Google the Dirty Dozen, as Rowan said. I cannot stress that enough. Yeah, very similar to what Rowan stated. I just try to stay away from a lot of those vegetable oils. I think they're really bad. I have a couple of things here that I haven't mentioned. This is Bill Andrews Aging Care Capsules. It's TAM 818. It's a telomerase activator, shown to be the strongest telomerase activator according to his lab at Sierra Sciences from what he's tested. It's insanely expensive. This is $800 for these 90 pills. So I'm sorry about that. Don't shoot the messenger. And then Isagenesis also is a telomerase activator, but it has you can maybe see the ingredients there, get a screenshot of it or something, but there's lots and lots of good stuff in here. There's antioxidants and all sorts of good things in there as well. I've been taking a product called Maximum Vibrance every day for like the last 8 years. I have it in the freezer, I could grab it, but it's a powder of all organic foods, and it's basically a multivitamin. So it's going to give you every single thing you need, every multivitamin at a 100% or more level. And it also has 25 billion probiotics in it and prebiotics, and it has 8 different strains of probiotics that have shown to be the healthiest for humans, because there's billions of different types of probiotics, and some people just eat yogurt and think they're doing great, but I'm sorry, it's like way more complex than that. So the good news is too, I know the CEO and founder, his name's Mark Timon, Timon, and it's like a software update. As the research comes out and they improve their supply chain management, they're constantly updating the product, and you can see like it's like version 3.4, just like a software update. So there are other green powder mixes that I think are really great, so I'm not just dogmatic about this. It's not just Maximum Vibrance or bust, but I think it's the easiest way and to get all your vitamins, nutrients, and all these healthy things in your diet. And I think it's much better than taking a pill. Like, I've studied this pretty in-depthly, and I hate to say it, but the research is very inconclusive. If you're taking a pill, is that actually working? And I think the easiest way to do it is just get it in food. So the powder that I take is actually just food. It's just, a powder. And I keep it in the freezer so it doesn't spoil. It comes vacuum sealed. I get it on Amazon. It's called Maximum Vibrance. So
have you ever thought of measuring your telomeres?
I had my telomeres measured in 2013, and when I was 28 years old at the time, it showed a biological age of 21. However, this is a very misunderstood thing with telomere measurement, even within experts and telomeres in general. We really can't end without talking about telomeres, so I'll try and go really rapid fire. So first of all, in telomere measurement, if you really want to get your telomeres measured, I don't think you need to, but if you want to, there's 2 companies I'd recommend. LifeLength, they're in Madrid, Spain. Dr. Maria Blasco is behind that, and she's a very phenomenal scientist that's been involved in telomeres for decades, and that's where I had my telomeres measured. And also there's a company called TeloYears. They've rebranded. They're in Mountain View, California, in Silicon Valley. And the thing about LifeLength is that they will measure your critically short telomeres, which are actually the most important data for you to have. Because if you have critically short telomeres, then you're screwed. Yeah. But unfortunately, with all telomere measurement companies, all they're doing is you're giving them a blood sample, and they're giving you your telomere length from your white blood cells, okay? And those turn over all the time. So you can't just think that, oh, I was 28 years old in 2013, I had my telomeres measured and it showed I was 21. I'm 21. No, my white blood cells at the time were shown to be 21 years biologically from LifeLength.
So they didn't test any other tissues, just your white blood cells?
Wow. No, you don't. So I just want that. This isn't just LifeLength. This is the telomere testing business model in general, and where it sadly is today. So my liver cells at the time could have been fucked because I was drinking too much alcohol at the time. My kidney, on and on and on and on. So it's not that simple, unfortunately, regarding telomere measurement. And it was expensive. I had to spend $1,000, and I had to go to an anti-aging doctor, in San Francisco just to do it. Regarding telomeres in general, I want to go back to Bill Andrews' work. Bobby and Rowan, you're in Nevada. I have some of his books over here. He gave me a bunch of them, so I can hand them out and let you guys borrow them. I have multiple copies. These are his 2 books he's written. This one's called Lengthening Telomeres. The reason why I want people's telomeres to get lengthened, and the reason I think it's so important, is because all the research goes. Just go to PubMed. There's literally tens of thousands of articles, and Bill's kind of put it all into one summary. Bad things happen when telomeres get short. There's nothing good about short telomeres. Nothing. So I take these because it's what's shown in Bill's lab at Sierra Sciences to actually potentially lengthen my telomeres. So I promise I'll try and make this as short as possible. When my baby was conceived about 11 months ago by my wife and I, he had 15,000 base pairs of telomeres when the sperm and the egg came together. In the 10-month gestation period, because all those cells were rapidly dividing to create the baby, by the time he was born 6 weeks ago, he had about 10,000 base pairs of telomere length in all of his cells. And he's got, roughly 38 trillion cells. Maybe he has less. Adults have about 38 trillion cells that make up our body. As you get older, your telomeres keep getting shorter every time your cells replicate. It's called the end telomere replication problem. This is why this is happening. It's because the RNA can't copy the DNA properly when the cells replicate. So you lose about 50 to 100 base pairs of telomeres with every replication. And your cells replicate at different they replicate at different levels based off the type of cell it is. So brain cells, liver cells, kidney cells, skin cells, they all replicate at different levels. But there's something called the Hayflick limit, which is named after Dr. Hayflick, Leonard Hayflick. And what that shows is that each cell has a certain amount of limit where they just can't replicate anymore. And senesce, as we, probably people watching know this. But the beautiful thing is there's this thing called telomerase, which is an enzyme. It's in your reproductive cells, your germ cells, your egg and sperm, and it's turned all the way up in there. That's why when my baby was born, this is why I believe it's the number one reason. There's probably many other things going on in the germ cells compared to our somatic cells. But I think it's the number one reason why my son came out age 0 and not age 34, which is the age of me and my wife. So I want to leave the audience with like a really empowering, thing here, which is that we already are immortal as a species. If we weren't, we'd be fucking dead. So the immortality is that our germ cells aren't even really immortal because the germ cells do age and their telomeres do shorten. So if I had a kid at age 70, that kid would not be as healthy as it was when I was age 34 because my germ cells do age. They just age way slower than our somatic cells. So the telomeres shorten, and that's bad. They shorten about 50 to 100 base pairs every time. But there's certain things you can do, like all the things we've been talking about during this conversation, that can help them shorten a little less. Okay, so instead of maybe 50 to 100, maybe they only shorten 30 on that replication because you're getting great sleep, exercise, all those lifestyle things. And then on top of that, you could take a telomerase activator, which is still weak. It's like maybe this is the strongest telomerase activator on the planet, according to Dr. Bill Andrews. So again, don't shoot the messenger. This is according to him, but it's only about 16% activation. So maybe if you're living really healthy, you'll be shortening 30 base pairs every time your cells replicate, and then maybe you'll activate telomerase enough to maybe add on 5 more. This is not going to get you to live forever. This is not longevity escape velocity, but it could be a good ROI for you. The third product that I don't have here that's a telomerase activator that actually lengthens telomeres according to Sierra Science's Bill Andrews is TA65. That's probably the most well-known one, and I've been taking that for years as well.
That's the most astragalus, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, that's a rabbit hole of controversy. It's this TA65, TA Sciences is the company, TA65 is the product. They say that it's from the astragalus root and astragaloside called cycloastrogenol. However, Bill Andrews highly disagrees with them because he's tested cycloastragenol and other astragalosides in his lab at Sierra Sciences, and it does not induce telomerase like TA65 does. So he strongly believes that TA65 is frankly lying about what they say is in their product. And they've said this to the European Union as well. So, which is the equivalent of the FDA in Europe for about 800 billion people. So it's a controversy. So now there's a bunch of knockoffs like cycloastragalus products on Amazon that you can get for super cheap. And I did buy them a few years ago because I didn't know this. But it appears, according to Dr. Andrews, that I was wasting my money on those.
So they must. Sorry. So are you saying they have a secret ingredient they're not telling people, and that's why they just say, "Oh, it's astragalus," but it's not. It's something else.
Yeah, the way that it would be correct, and the reason behind that is actually complex. It's a nutraceutical, which is different than a pharmaceutical. So these are all nutraceuticals, the things that I'm talking about. Nutraceuticals are coming from natural plants, so they are not in the same level of regulation as drugs are, according to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. So they basically can lie about what's in their product, and they're not held to accountability from the FDA because they're not harming anybody. And that's basically where it's at. That's, what Bill Andrews has told me. I don't really want to speak for him too much, but that's basically what he's told me. And I want the audience to kind of understand this. So I actually sold nutraceuticals in 2008 and 2009. So that's why I kind of know a lot about alternative medicine and vitamins in the nutraceutical world and how it works from a business standpoint and regulation standpoint, at least within the U.S.
Can you tell us some of the ingredients in that? I'm just curious.
You mean in this TAM 818?
What are the? I'm interested in what are the actual ingredients that are helping
the ingredients telomeres. Right here. Anybody can type in Bill Andrews Aging Care Capsules. The company's Defy Times. They show the ingredients on their website. It's macadamia oil, walnut oil, vitamin D3, astaxanthin, carbazamide, tatarol powder, D-alpha tocopherol. That's it. And it has the supplemental facts on here as well, too. And another thing for reading labels, a lot of people don't realize this, but whenever you're reading labels in the U.S., according to FDA, the first label that they have, so when you're reading from left to right, that's what's in there the most from a percentage standpoint. That's what companies are at least supposed to do to follow FDA regulations. So in other words, what's in here the most is macadamia oil, then walnut oil, then vitamin D3 and on down. So, but the thing is, you don't want to go out and just try and buy those things if they're cheaper than $800. There's something called a synergistic effect, which is, well known to have epigenetic effects on our body. So it needs to be a perfect percentage of all these things at one time to actually activate telomerase in our somatic cells. So, again, don't shoot the messenger. This thing's $800 because the team at Bill Andrews and other people had to do so much research and spend so much money to get a return on their investments. So I'm not happy about it either.
Wait,
but it is
one bottle is $800?
Yeah, there's 900. There's 90 pills in here. I mean, whenever you take it, you're activating telomerase enzyme in your somatic cells. Again, according to Bill Andrews. So you could take 5 of them a day, or you could take one every month. Again, it comes back to personalized medicine and return on investment in your personal financial situation. I take one a day. That's what I do.
Yeah, extending telomeres is really important. It's something we're going to have to figure out how to do, and hopefully that's done in the near future. The mice studies are really promising. They've injected telomerase. This dog is coughing up. They've injected telomerase, or at least telomerase subunits, into mice and extended their lifespan by 20-something%. Average lifespan, I think. And then that was in 2012. And they've done transgenic mice that overexpress telomerase, and it's extended their lifespan by a little bit. But still, Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, she's the one who got the Nobel Prize for discovering telomerase in some sort of microorganism. And Bill didn't get it.
Tetrahymena. It's a pond scum in 1984. Her and her research assistant Carol Greider discovered the telomerase enzyme in that pond scum. But it was Andrews who led the team at Geron Corporation in the early 90s that discovered telomerase in humans. And I'm a human, not a pond scum, so I think that's
so she got the Nobel Prize for that. But she's going around still today, dude, telling everyone that it's going to cause cancers to inject telomerase into people, when that's not what research necessarily indicates. And she never talks about the benefits telomerase has had on not only humans but model organisms. So it's really odd that she's doing that. But yeah, we're going to need to find a robust way to extend telomeres soon. That's going to help a lot of people out. But
Bobby, if you're going to bring that up, we should touch upon real quick a couple things. So we talked about this earlier with mice, at the beginning of this video conference. It should be well understood that at Geron Corporation in the late 90s, we have reversed aging in human cells, fibroblasts, which are skin cells, using telomerase gene therapy. So guys, this is 20 years ago. And I'll repeat, we reversed aging in human cells dramatically in every single way using telomerase gene therapy. Also, Dr. Ron DePinal at Harvard in 2010 reversed aging dramatically in mice using telomerase gene therapy. Dramatically. Just Google the things that I'm saying. Liz Parrish in 2015, September 15th, 2015, was the first known person, and I believe the first person to take a telomerase gene therapy. I did an interview with her. You can find lots of information on this. She's 49 as of this month in January. I don't think she's had her birthday yet, but she'll be 49 soon. I think she looks good, but we need more than this. You know, she had MRIs done before. She had a lot of blood work done. All of her blood work and results show that she has reversed all the aspects of aging that they can test in the 4 years, from her telomerase gene therapy and her myostatin inhibitor gene therapy. However, that's just one person. Now, a few other people have done telomerase gene therapy as well, and Labella Gene Therapeutics is scheduled to do telomerase gene therapy this month in January, and I'll be continuing to report on that in my YouTube channel. There's also Dr. Michael Fossel at Telesight in America who's trying to get reversal of Alzheimer's and eventually aging through telomerase gene therapy at his company with FDA approval. Gene therapy for telomerase gene therapy with Liz Parrish was done outside of the U.S. in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia. So I'll just leave it on that. Like, we got to get people interested in the things that actually have shown to work in animal models dramatically. And unfortunately, those things are very expensive right now and very controversial.
Yeah, the research is really slow, and I'm not sure why. You think we would have a treatment right now to extend telomeres, but it's 2020. We're still pretty far away. We're still years away. It's really odd.
We have a audience question. Says Wilhelm says I've been saying William, I think it's Wilhelm, says, which supplements are the most relevant for most people? All right, I'll give my list. Off the top of my head, I would put iodine, I'd put boron, magnesium. Magnesium is huge. So many people are deficient in magnesium. Also, so many people are deficient in iodine. I will put trehalose on my list. I will put some kind of good adaptogenic herb. One of my favorites is ashwagandha. Astragalus would be high up there because it's going to help your telomeres. Lion's mane, that's a good general one for the brain health. Neurogenesis, improving the brain health is important. What else?
Hey guys, I apologize.
If you're not eating fish, then get a krill oil. I think it's important to get those long-chain fatty acids. What was that?
Rowan, yeah, sorry, I apologize. I have to run. I have another meeting in 5 minutes. And I want to plug that real quick. So I'm going to be interviewing this guy who's incredible from Russia, Vladimir. He's created a website called Lev Science. It stands for Longevity Escape Velocity Science. He's going to be doing a demo of it and releasing this for the first time on the internet, where it's a website where all longevity enthusiasts can share information and actually share any type of, it's really for scientists. They can share any type of products or equipment, and they can post like, hey, I want $200 for 1 hour to use my electron microscope and stuff like that. So he's going to be demoing that for me, and I'm supposed to meet him in 4 minutes. Right. And Bill Andrews is involved. He's trying to get Aubrey de Grey involved. It's like there's nothing like this that I'm aware of, or he is. And he builds websites. So he's built it. It's done. We've been meeting for months. We're going to do this. It'll be on my channel soon. And then at 2 o'clock, if you guys are interested in intermittent fasting, and it's 2 hours from now, 2 o'clock Pacific time, I'll be on Loren Lockman, Loren, Lockman. I'll be live on his YouTube channel. He's got like 53,000 subscribers. He does intermittent fasting in Costa Rica. He's been doing it for 23 years at his little retreat center. People go there and they intermittent fast for 21 days minimum, like literally no food for 21 days. It's crazy, wow. But really good results, and I'll be talking with him about longevity in a couple hours. So,
all right. Well, everyone, Brent's link is in the description, and it's great meeting you, Brent, and that sounds really awesome. I'll definitely check that out. That sounds cool.
Definitely, Rowan. And I apologize to cut you off, but I don't want to be late for the other one. So I really appreciate your all's time. It was great meeting everybody. Scott, it was great to meet you. Rowan, thanks, guys. We'll do it again.
You too, Brent.
I got to run.
Right. See you later, Brent.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah, we should probably finish it soon. It's been a long time.
So
It's
if I
almost been like
had
3
to add
hours.
one more supplement on my list that I just gave there, that's just off the top of my head. There's a bunch more, but NAC, N-acetylcysteine would be a big one because that's
Yeah.
going to increase your glutathione, and it's just great for the immunity. I don't have a spleen, and I hardly ever get sick. I contribute that to taking so much NAC preventatively. And then, of course, NMN, that would be big for obvious reasons. All right, so what would your list be, Bobby, for supplements?
So yeah, Scott gave a really good list. You can talk to your doctor about taking some of those. Or Royal Jelly is, I think, is something really great. It's not too expensive. You can buy it at any store, and it's had really robust life extension results in model organisms. I think in mice is like up to like 20%. I have it right here. Where is it at? 30% actually in 2003.
My name is Tyler Moore.
And and then you brought up activated charcoal.
Oh yeah, activated charcoal.
Some great results. Coenzyme Q10, a lot of people take that. And branched chain amino acids for some reason has had really great results, like valine, leucine, isoleucine for some reason.
So
having more.
A collagen supplement would have a lot of those. I know that's
maybe
leucine and
wait, collagen, does that have a lot of leucine?
I think it does.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It has a lot of glycine. Glycine's another one. You mentioned.
Yeah, so those are all
good for
amino acids. Yeah, and glycine is extended mice lifespan. A lot of vitamins have, and then even restricting methionine for some reason has extended mice lifespan. Right. It's really weird. But there's like a bunch of different like supplement stuff. You can Google Hager and they have a whole list, but they don't have like an entire as much as they will have soon after I donate to them. And like I think I'm gonna contact them in a couple of days. But if you see something that's extended model organism lifespan and it's generally safe, it's like might as well take it. And eventually you might be taking, and a lot of them are inexpensive, so eventually you might be taking like 4 or 5 of these things, maybe even like 10, and that gives you like a solid chance of living to like 150 years old, and maybe even longer, just through that alone. And then the final thing I wanted to bring up was I just recently got a permit for the Sacramento Capitol. We talked about it a little bit before we started recording, but I got a permit for a day from like 8 a.m. till like 3 p.m. I think, where I'm gonna have like a bunch of people come and we'll talk about life extension research, and hopefully I can get some experts to go out there and talk with us. Yeah. Brent has talked to a fair share of experts, and I have, and Rowan has, and hopefully all of us, Scott's invited, and hopefully all of us can go and meet up and talk about life extension research and listen to experts, and we can
we should do
people can donate.
Giving our ideas for that, huh? Because this one's already gone on too long.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. So yeah, this is just I just wanted to bring it up real quick. The details will come out soon, but it's actually not for a while. It's not until August, so we have like a long time until it's our first one. I've done other.
That's close to my birthday. We might want to just move it to my birthday, so it could be a big birthday celebration.
Yeah, I thought August 8th would be cool because it's like infinity symbols, like number 8. I don't know, but yeah, I think we should probably cut it short because it's kind of a long video right now.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you for coordinating this. You're good at coordinating things. It's so good.
Thanks. All right, yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah. And
hope you all live a lot longer after hearing this talk, and have a healthier lifestyle. And I look forward to living with all of you forever.
Heck yes, me too. May you live forever. May you live forever, Bobby.
Yeah. Just me. Everyone else
you
dies.
Alone. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that'd suck. No, all of us should be able to live forever really soon. Like 20 years from now, we should all have the option to live for hundreds and thousands of years. And if you think that's unreasonable, just check out Rowan and my YouTube channel. We have like lots of evidence for why we feel confident in this. I think Transhumania was in the comment section. Check out his YouTube channel.
Yeah,
he has a great YouTube channel.
Definitely.
But
We'll
yeah,
have
guys,
a discussion
thanks for talking.
with him. He's cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool to talk to him someday. Maybe do a video with him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Alrighty, everyone. Thanks. See you later.
See ya.
See you later.
Bye.